Book of Boba Fett promo material, so prepare to take a few predictions to the bank. They'll also discuss the fate of Rangers of the New Republic, which looks to be toast at this point in time. A new Ahsoka casting will also be discussed and how it could shape the show. Finally, the dudes will wrap things up with this week's fan segment by reading a few fan responses to the question of the week and honoring the latest round of Top 5 Star Wars featured artists. Punch it, Chewie!
Hey now, everybody! Sorry about that. If you were in here early, you just got a little Easter egg. My little one was sitting there, the Padawan, wanting to say hello to her father after a long and arduous day in kindergarten. But hey, here we are. We're starting. He can't hear us. Uh-oh. Well, yeah, no, that makes sense. I had the mics dialed down while my little kid was down here. So if you still can't hear us, I guess we're having some serious freaking problems, but I'm assuming you can hear us now because the mics are live. Yep. All right. Thank you, Liam. Woo! All right. Sorry, people. I'm trying to muster up the excitement for another awesome episode of the Star Wars Time Show, but I'm human. I'm dealing with a little sports fan grief from the weekend. Yes, I am an alumni of the Ohio State University. And yes, I have been spoiled for a better part of 2 decades. But this past weekend in the game, capital T, capital G, the Buckeyes, they got fucked up. I mean, there's really no other way to say it. It wasn't a hard-fought loss. They got their asses kicked by Michigan, and it was rough. Not so much that Michigan beat them, but in how they lost and how I process said loss. I don't do it in a healthy manner, okay? Luckily, Nick, the game was on Saturday, so I didn't have to feel too bad about breaking out some bourbon at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, taking some drinks of that, and having some early beers. But I don't know, man. It just, a game like that, when you're expecting your team to win or at least perform like champions, and then they don't, and then you start to realize, like, that's it. They're done. It's college football. You know, more than one loss, you're toast. They're not going to be playing this weekend, so they're robbing me of a game to watch Saturday night. They're not going to be in the CFP, so they're robbing me of an actual bowl game worth watching come January. My entire sports season is over now because the Steelers essentially mailed it in week 1. They're done. Buckeyes shit the bed. It's over. I have nothing to look forward to. Tiger Woods can't play golf anymore. He just came out and said it yesterday. What is a man supposed to do with his sports life at this point in time, right, Nick?
Yeah, I know. I mean, me as a Saints, I'm not even wearing my Saints hat today. You can see that I'm wearing an Austin hat, but it's the hat of the only professional team that Austin fields, which is Austin FC, the MLS soccer team.
Which should have been the Columbus team, but our city actually put up enough fight that we kept our team, and the owner pre-court left and started down there anyways. So yeah, I'm familiar with the Austin team because it was big news back in the day when Columbus in Ohio, that is, found out that they were going to move the Crew to Austin because the owner just wanted to. But the city fought. We got a kick-ass new stadium if you like watching soccer, and now Nick is watching the former owner of the team of the city that I live in.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Well, now they it's him and McConaughey, because Matthew McConaughey
he bought in?
majority of, and he's one of the majority investors, I believe.
Well,
so he's at every game, and
luckily Nick
stumping out there.
I think he announced yesterday that he is not going to run for governor of Texas. So he should have more time to keep acting, drinking booze, and going to Austin FC
Honestly,
soccer games.
I wish he would have.
I know, because I mean, Abbott, he's one of the crazier ones, and then I think you got Beto going up against him. He probably won't have a chance. So
he's probably not going to win.
You're screwed either way. Yeah, but back to don't worry, winter's right around the corner, and maybe your heat will go out for a week, and you'll have to like
last year.
You'll have to pipe car exhaust into your house to stay warm. So you never know. You never know.
We'll see.
In the United of States. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm glad we had the show today because things were starting to get dark with me. Like, I'm not kidding. I mean, I let a loss like that affect me both physically and emotionally. And you're saying, well, Matt, come on, physically? What are you talking about? Well, even going into Saturday, I couldn't sit still. I kind of butterflies in my stomach. I am invested in sports, just like a lot of you are invested in the Star Wars. My Star Wars passion is no different if you carry it over into sports. It's a part of me as a human. It can affect my mood and my physical well-being. I wouldn't say I've had the case of the shits, but my stomach has just been in knots since Saturday afternoon. So, I mean, maybe that's all the eating and drinking I did over the lovely Thanksgiving holiday. But either way, I was kind of feeling like shit, but hey, we're here. I'm trying. I'm putting my best face on to talk some Star Wars with you. But before we get there, we always like to kind of shoot the shit about regular life. It's not all things Star Wars these days, and it doesn't even seem to be the case at Lucasfilm. They like canceling stuff left and right. But I took your advice on Wheel of Time. Okay, watched the first two episodes. Definitely a fan. Liking the world, liking the money they pumped into the series. It definitely caught my attention. I would say it's way more adult oriented than I thought. I mean, that first episode, the end, like, holy shit, when those Trolloc things show up, I mean, there's some good old gore in there. Yep. But no, good stuff there. But I also, I was kind of, now that I finished Foundation and I'm an asshole and slowly going through Invasion, I'm like, you know what? I need to find something else. I need another show, a current one. And lo and behold, I see Cowboy Bebop pop up on Netflix. I'm like, you know what? I watched the trailer. It seemed interesting. It's a sci-fi type of setting, so I'm instantly going to be interested. Sci-fi anything, I'll give a chance. I mean, that or even fantasy, but I'd say sci-fi is definitely my number one genre. And I know nothing about the anime. I don't give a fuck about the anime, right? I don't care. I just went into it because the trailer that Otto played in Netflix looked interesting enough. When, you got this big black guy with a killer beard named Jet is talking shit to, like a station operator about being charged for using some sort of hyperdrive system. I was like, all right, I'll check this out. Yeah. And the first episode's pretty damn good. And every episode I've watched since has maintained the quality for me. In terms of, I would say Cowboy Bebop, at least the live action version on Netflix, has a great blend of humor, kind of craziness, I'm assuming comes from the anime, like just in the scenarios and even the music that plays. It's got good visuals, great characters. And every episode kind of has its own little plot that gets resolved, but there's also a main line narrative that is kind of overarching this first season, you can tell, especially with the character Spike. So I'm in. I've actually rewatched some of the episodes because this was a show, Nick, that I'd put on late at night, and sometimes the old dozing off would kick in, and you doze off and you wake up and you may have missed a minute or two, but it feels like you've missed the entire episode and you just can't get back on track. So I've gone back and rewatched some of them, but I'm up through 5 episodes and I really haven't found it to be a waste of time. I've found it to be quite enjoyable. I like where things are going, and I kind of like I said, I like that you get kind of little self-resolved plots, some Miller Time action in each episode. Not quite the Miller Time we're used to. I guess Cowboy Bebop's own version of Miller Time. But you also have this overarching plot that kind of ties the whole world together and all the characters that we touch in on. So, again, I don't know shit about the anime. I see that the season 1 of the anime is also on Netflix. Maybe I'll go back and check it out. But for someone just coming into Cowboy Bebop and Rocksteady, fresh, with a clean slate, I have enjoyed it. And the last thing I dipped into before we see what young Nick has been checking out is the thing that Peter Jackson's company did with the Beatles on Disney Plus. I understand this is not going to be for everybody. I would also say it's not only just for hardcore Beatle fans. I would say anyone that is interested in the musical art form and how artists like the Beatles craft an album. It's crazy. I mean, you're essentially a fly on the wall. It's not a documentary. You're just there watching these dudes kind of almost this. From what I see in this video, Nick, you can see the fractures starting to happen. You understand why the greatest band of all time, the band that changed rock and roll, changed culture, changed social, changed society. You can see why after only 10 albums, they fucking break up. But it's that stuff that I just dig and like how songs start and then what they turned into. So I've been going through that, and it's massive. I think it's 3 parts, and each part is 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, that's what I heard, that a lot of people were just drawing like parallels to the length of the the length of the series, the Beatles series versus the length of the Lord of the Rings movies. They're like, look, that's the only way that Peter Jackson knows how to make anything is it needs to be 9 hours long in 3 parts.
Yeah.
So,
but I don't know.
It seems interesting.
I feel like it's nothing I've been sitting there watching going like, all right, what the, come on. It's because again, you're watching these geniuses craft. I don't know what album it is. It's the one that's got Get Back on it. We're essentially watching all the stuff that led up to them playing I believe their last concert together on the roof of their Apple Studio recording building. I don't know. So, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Beatles. I'm a bigger fan of music and just listening to artists discuss their craft. I mean, anyone that listens to the Stern Show, it's like getting a Stern interview with McCartney, but on steroids. And it's not an interview. You're seeing it. You're seeing Paul's process. Ringo, John, George, it all plays out live. And you could see where some feelings were being pissed on. And, George quits at the end of the first episode. And it's crazy. And they're just like, oh, well, we'll just get Eric Clapton. And it's like, it's just wild. It's a very cool snapshot of that time in history of a band that, love them or hate them, they fucking changed the world. They did. They changed music. They changed dress. They changed hairstyles. I mean, they helped loosen up a very rigid social construct that people were dealing with coming out of the 50s. So, Nick, I hear you finally got out and you haven't seen Dune yet, have you?
I haven't seen Dune, so
that's a bit of a sin, but you at least got the latest MCU movie under your belt finally, right?
We got the Eternals in, so we went to see it with a couple of our friends. We were planning on going see a movie anyway this weekend. More than likely, if we didn't go see the Eternals with our friends, it was going to be Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Another good choice.
After your glowing review and everything that I've read online. I mean, apparently that's like the perfect capstone to the Ghostbusters series. But yeah, we went to see the Eternals. I was a big fan. I can understand people's gripes about the length a little bit. It was 2.5. You probably could have cut 20 minutes out of there pretty easy, rounded out at nearly an even 2-hour mark, and you probably could have kept the same flow and the same story direction, everything like that. But other than that, I enjoyed it. Taylor enjoyed it a lot. I was actually expecting her to hate it because of the length. Like, she's not a person that can easily sit down for a 2.5 hour movie. She's like a kid in some ways.
Yeah,
she like gets she gets fidgety and like we're sitting in movie seats. Luckily, the theater we were at had nice leather reclining chairs and stuff. So she's like, curled up and moving all around and stuff like that. But overall, I think the thing that really brought her into it was the representation in the movie with having a deaf superhero, which we've never seen before ever. At least to my knowledge on any moving pictures.
Well, I mean, bro,
TV
deaf characters in general usually aren't lead characters. So I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I mean, this girl she's kind of created a niche for herself because I believe she started on The Walking Dead as a deaf person kind of dealing with that. And she's been off the show, but I think they're bringing her back. And I'm assuming she went off the show to shoot this film. But that's not it. I mean, you got white people, you got brown people. I mean, the Asians.
I mean, you had a gay black couple with a child. I mean, which was, and look, I don't want to say that's the only reason that she liked the movie, but that was one of the things that we were talking about when we left. She said, "Oh yeah, I really liked it. It was awesome to see representation like that in a superhero movie. So that's important.
Don't force that shit down our throats, Nick."
And then for me, I just liked. It was surprising to me because I don't like my level of knowledge of Marvel is now past.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
We're in
yeah,
phase
right.
4.
Like the Eternals,
I don't know
okay,
shit.
sounds good. Cosmic guys, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
the Celestials,
I don't know shit
all
about
right.
any of these. So like after the movie's over, they're all asking me. They're like, "Oh, who's Kit Harington's character? Who's he?" I was like, after Endgame ended, like my level of knowledge is zero now. I don't know anything. So it was cool to experience a Marvel movie like that, where I don't know who Icarus is, and I don't know who any of these Eternals are, and like Arishem and all that shit was so new to me, and I really got pulled into it. So I thought it was cool. I also thought it was interesting because, again, not knowing anything about these movies, when I saw these characters, when I saw Angelina Jolie in it, I was like, oh well, she'll be in it for one, and then they'll kill her, and she'll be like, that's her big splash. She was in one Marvel movie, but the fact that, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, spoiler alert, I guess, but like the fact that she's still around at the end of the movie, I'm like, wow, she's going to be like a longer standing member of the MCU universe than I thought. So overall, I was a fan. Definitely a little long, but I enjoyed the story being told. I enjoyed what it could potentially set up. I did read some like fan theories and everything like that after the movie was over. So
because you had that big cameo in the Stinger with your boy Harry. So
Harry Styles.
And then the other one, like I mean, the movie's been out long enough. I don't really give a shit. But the second one with Jon Snow, did you know who the voice was talking to him, or did you have to look that up like I did?
Dude,
I thought it was fucking Sam Jackson, but it's Blade.
That's what I thought at
It's
first,
Blade.
But I did. Okay, it's Blade.
It's Marshala Ali's Blade.
Yeah, Mahershala Ali. Yeah. Because I thought it was Fury at first too, but I didn't actually look up the voice. I just looked up like who does he play. So he plays Black Knight,
right?
Or he's going to play
it's like the
Black
sword
Knight.
has been passed down for generations, and it gives him this, that, or the other thing. I was expecting Kit to be in the movie a lot, but they actually, I mean, he's hardly in it, but I think that's because he's going to play a bigger role in some of these movies coming up.
Exactly, yeah.
Did your screening laugh when him and Icarus meet up and talk to each other? Because of the Game of Thrones connection? Yeah. It's like, I forget the line they say, but I even feel like they wrote the line with a wink wink, like, haha, you guys will get this if you watch Game of Thrones, because it's Rob and John sitting there again talking to each other. Yeah, dude.
And they were fighting.
I think it was good. I had a similar reaction, and really the length. I'd say 20 minutes of it are the trailers and stingers, but it still probably could have been, an hour 50, something like that, and felt a little bit tighter.
Yeah.
But
there were
I'm
some
good.
scenes where it like drug a little bit, or like you're just
the sex
sitting
scene,
with
like
the characters in the house.
Like, did you need the sex scene? I mean, hey, I'm all about good-looking people getting naked, but I mean, did you really need it? I don't know. I don't think so.
But overall I enjoyed it. So next weekend, I mean, or next time we hit the theaters, we're probably going to end up doing Dune if it's still available. Because I know that the theaters around us are starting to reduce showing times. This weekend there was only 2 showings of Dune in the theaters near us. So probably going to try to catch that before it leaves. And then the next time we go after that will be Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I think coming up, I mean, obviously Spider-Man, apparently that's been going nutty with the pre-sales. I haven't even looked to try to get one. I figure I'll just go, if it's too crazy Thursday night, maybe go to an early Friday show screening. And then The Matrix is coming on the 22nd. But I forgot, I got one other thing before we get into the Star Wars topics. I know people sometimes dislike our poo-poo, or just our shooting the shit time.
Bullshit.
And Joe in the chat here kind of had a good description. This is kind of rewinding a bit if you're on the replay here. But we were talking about Cowboy Bebop to start the live action version, and Joe in the live stream chat, which if you want to join every Tuesday, youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. That's where we do it live. F it. We always do it live. But he's saying that Cowboy Bebop, the live action version, gave him some Fifth Element vibes, and I strongly agree with that, 100%.
Good.
It's got that feel, like it's just a weird universe, but I dig it. So one last recommendation to leave you with, and I wouldn't even limit this to just people with little kids, but no joke, Encanto is amazing. It's fucking wonderful. The latest Disney movie that Lin-Manuel, I think, did a lot of the music for. It's excellent. I absolutely loved it. I mean, I liked some of the music, but more importantly, I loved the message it tells, especially to a father of a young girl. And without getting too far into it, let's just say the unimpressive, the normal character is the one that ultimately ends up being kind of the hero. There are no princesses and princes, and there are some superpower people, but it's the regular person that shines through. And I don't know, it has great message, good music. It's just a good story. I mean, no fucking around. Encanto, highly recommended. I'd probably go see it again in theaters. That's how well I received it. I think I liked it more than the little one. These days she doesn't like going to the movies anymore because she's got friends in the neighborhood to play with. But mom went, so she begrudgingly agreed to go. And really, all she does is eat. Like, my kid eats. She has become the people I hate in movie theaters. And it's my fault because I packed the damn bag too full. But Nick, she will literally eat everything I pack. And it's usually for the first hour we're there. And it gets to the point where I'm like, put your fucking mask back on. Like, stop eating. It's just like, rah, 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 candy this, popcorn that, chips. Like, jeez.
You're coming up towards the first growth spurt. You get that early years growth spurt, and then their next one comes in their like early teens.
It's just like, dude, you got it.
Probably creeping up.
Just watch the movie. Like, I've turned you into the person I hate at movie theaters, the person that is eating, drinking, making noises. So I'll have to work on that. I'll probably have to limit what she smuggles into the theater in her little backpack, because we use her. She's like our drug mule. When we go to the movies, she's got one of those little Star Wars leather backpacks. We throw in all our outside food and drink, and we'll let her take the heat if she gets busted at the gate. But yeah, Encanto kicks ass. So Bat commenting, here's one for you, Matt. I cried my eyes out at the end of Get Back, and that's that Beatles special I'm talking about. And I could see that. Like, if you're involved in that era, the band, and really just watching kind of the process they went through, and knowing that, this is it, probably. I mean, I believe that was their last live performance together. I don't know. It's good shit. Like I said, if you like music, you like learning about how artists go about creating music that you've probably listened to for 50 years at this point, check it out. All right, my man, let's talk some Star Wars. We've eaten enough of the clock just riffing out there, but I think we have made some great recommendations for our audience for things non-Star Wars to check out. All right, so a lot of, you can tell, Nick, the Book of Boba Fett marking machine, the switch was flipped. It was starting to flip last week with that Empire issue, and now the floodgates are open, because I believe Saturday we got a TV spot. Monday we got another TV spot. We're getting character posters. We're getting more revelations, more details. Lucasfilm is 100% engaged in marketing the Book of Boba at this point in time, which is great for people like you and me. Luckily, it was over the holiday weekend, and I was sports depressed, so I didn't feel the need to drop everything I was doing and break it down on YouTube for 20 people to watch. That was good. Growth, my friend. Growth. Okay? Growth. But yeah, so our first story, and this comes from the Empire issue, the full Empire issue. So like I said, there were going to be some nuggets in there. But we got a list of directors for the Book of Boba Fett. And there were some names on there that had not been announced yet. In particular, and I would assume most geeky fans have probably heard of at least one of these directors, but it was revealed that Steph Green, who has directed episodes of Man in the High Castle, a good series, Watchmen, a fantastic series, Preacher, a good one, Luke Cage, okay, and Kevin Tankcherone, who has been in the Arrow. Go ahead. Yeah, all right.
But yeah,
Kevin Tank
him
Guy.
And his sister.
He's done a bunch of Arrowverse shows, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Iron Fist, Prison Break, and a bunch of other stuff. I think he directed that Mortal Kombat web series from many, many years ago. So, I mean, these two have had their full selves in kind of the pop culture geekosphere throughout their career. So I'm excited to hear that both of these two directors have been added to the list, which now is Robert Rodriguez, multiple, Filoni 1, Howard 1. You have to assume Kevin and Steph each got 1, so Robert got the rest. And apparently Favreau is only an EP on the show. He didn't do any directing himself in the Book of Boba Fett.
I mean, for me, the one that stands out, obviously, aside from the ones we already knew, is Tankerowen, Kevin. I was a huge fan of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show. I still have to watch the final season because it aired when I didn't have the necessary streaming service to watch it, which was Hulu. Now I do. And I'm not sure now exactly how that works because they used to come out on Netflix, but now with the Hulu end of the deal,
I think it's
with
still
like
on
Disney
Netflix.
owning Hulu.
It's weird. Like oh my goodness, sorry. I had some chicken sausage earlier. I swear I still see a lot of the Marvel shows, like TV shows, showing up on Netflix.
Yeah, so I just got to see where it is, and then I'll catch up to it. But Kevin and his sister Marissa were essentially like series long EPs, like players in that show. And like I said, I really did enjoy Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I thought it did a good job of bridging the gap between the movies for the MCU. So I'm very interested to see what he can do with probably, I mean, unquestionably a bigger budget. And then also with a character like Boba Fett. So excited to see what he can bring. I mean, Steph Green, I've definitely seen stuff that she's done, but never really tracked her as one of the primary players like I did with Kevin.
Yeah, I know. So I kind of felt the same way when I saw this. I was like, damn, I mean, she's got an impressive list of credentials. Kevin, for some reason, has always been kind of thrown around. I'm talking like 10 years plus at this point. Has always kind of been in the mix of doing geeky stuff. And I do believe, like I said, I think he ran, it was a really well done Mortal Kombat web series. It might even be...
which is essentially what sparked the movie to be made.
Yeah, good chance. And I think Kevin and probably his sister, I think they did all of that shit. Like wrote, directed, scripted, all that fun stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what he does in the Book of Boba Fett, but whenever I see this news, do you ever just go like, damn, I wonder how he's feeling or how he felt or she felt when they got that call. Like, hey, you guys, you like to dabble in geeky stuff. Any chance you want to try your hand in Star Wars? I mean, can you imagine what that call must be like?
Dude, not only that, but it's like to do a show, like, yeah, they could have put you on, there's a lot of them, a lot of different shows,
Right.
but to put you on Book of Boba Fett, which is essentially like we've been saying, like the true first Mando spinoff, the one that is going to attract a lot of familiar fans, because you're essentially tasked with like, hey, it's your job to make Boba Fett the badass motherfucker that we've always said he was. And yeah, Robert Rodriguez did that to a degree in Mando season 2, but like with Book of Boba Fett, not only are you expanding on what we've already seen in Mando season 2, but you're going back more than likely, and you're going to be adding, I don't want to say retconning, but you're going to go back and you're going to make younger Boba Fett look like a badass too.
Yes.
So I gotta imagine that he was like over the moon.
You are right. I mean, I think through these flashbacks, they're going to retcon Bozo Fett. Okay?
Yeah.
They're going to retcon Bozo Fett and definitely flesh him out as the guy I became aware of in the War of the Bounty Hunters comic book run, and not the dude that was on screen for 4 minutes and said like 3 lines. And then like a buffoon got his rocket fired accidentally and crashed into
by a blind guy.
Crashed into the Sarlacc mouth. So, I just like, and to your point, Nick, it's Star Wars, but it's got the gravitas to it over, say, like an Acolyte, which is brand new. I mean, we're dealing with an OT hero character. I mean, someone that people have loved now for what, almost 50 years. Yeah. So. Yeah. I just, whenever I see this stuff, it's not really from a place of jealousy, although it probably is. I mean, I also think the reason I'm feeling a bit down these days, I mean, it's coming off a long break and hanging out with the wife and kid and eating and drinking and having fun, but I think I'm legitimately hitting a midlife crisis at 41, where I'm going, I think this is it for me. Like, I think this is it. I think I'm just here to be a good dad, hopefully a not too shitty husband, an educator, and some asshole who wastes his time on the internet trying to get popular. And it's kind of depressing. It's like, well, I had a lot of delusions of grandeur, I guess, as they like to say in Star Wars, because I don't know. Time's running out, pal. It is. It's like, it's fucking, I'm going to be 42 in a few months. Kid's going to be in first grade in a few months. And it seems the time just compounds and gets quicker and quicker and quicker. And before you know it, I'm going to be sitting here at 50 going, I fucking failed at a lot of things I wanted to do in my life. And now I'm basically almost retired and dying. So that's where my head's at.
Yeah. It's something that, like, even, I mean, I'm younger than you. We're separated by a few years here, but like, even for me, like, I've recently been going through like, hey, should I go back to school for something that I'm a little bit more interested in? Because I mean, I have a nice job here. I make a good living, and I would never complain about how much I make or what I do. But it's just like, it wasn't what I saw myself doing when I was younger, I guess you would say, necessarily. And like, there's still a part of me that's like, well, you can still do it. You can still, you can go back to school, or you can do whatever, like some boot camps or certifications or whatever, and try to like pivot yourself back into something that's a little bit more in your interest zone. But it's difficult to do even in your 30s. Cause like, like when you have bills and you have a mortgage and you have everything that like really depends on the salary that you make, you can't just say like, okay, well, I'm gonna drop a 6-figure salary to go back to school.
It gets easy to get sucked into the doldrums of a comfortable life, a middle class plus. I mean, we're not bitching here. We understand people are way worse off than us, but in terms of like fulfilling my ego, I have failed. I've failed myself miserably. And this dumbass show, as Brando points out in the live stream, doesn't help. Because as he says, well, with your numbers, it is depressing. I'm glad that one fan finally gets it. Like, I put on a happy face, and I know Nick, it doesn't bother him, but there's like every week that goes by, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, what is the point here? What am I trying to accomplish now at 41 with a show that we're at 190 episodes, has had zero growth in 2021, in fact, has lost an audience? Like, what's the point? Like, what am I trying to achieve? Is it that, 2 or 3 times a year you get a comment from a stranger like, hey, man, you guys are great. You definitely should have more listeners and subs. Is that what I live for these days? Like a weak-ass reach around? Like, what is going on? So.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just like talking to you.
I do too.
So,
don't listen.
Hey,
this is helping me to get over the fucking Buckeye travesty of the weekend. But I'm still someone, and this is the narcissism kicking in. I do feel like we should have a larger audience. I feel like our show is entertaining. We do it every week. It's not monotone. It's not bland. It's not just all puff pieces like, oh, we love Star Wars. You love Star Wars. Everyone loves Star Wars. Disney, Lucasfilm. Everyone loves, love, love, love. No. I mean, we bring that fucking anger. At least I do. And I think that's different in the Star Wars fan podcast landscape. I don't think there are many others out there that are as off or as kind of off the handle as we are. A little more real, a little more visceral. Yeah, honest. Like we'll poke at Disney, we'll poke at Lucasfilm. We're not looking for fucking partnerships with them or handouts, although it'd be nice. We realize that, we're nobody. We're a podcast living on a gnat's ass at this point in time. Like that's how minuscule we are. So there's our little, as Brando's saying, hey, Brando, you kicked it off, pal. Yeah, I haven't had a pity party in a while. So I think, we've been due for one of these. You're just lucky I'm not going around and addressing everyone in the live stream and yelling at them personally like I used to do. Right? So I know we're way off on a tangent here, but I'll bring it back. And it's just like, when I read this, it reminded me that I have failed myself in life, at least my ego. So good for Kevin, good for Steph. They're living the life I wish I was living. So.
They made it. They made it, right?
And don't get me wrong, I love my kid, love my family, but I'm always going to have that black hole in my soul of other people liking what I do, paying attention to me, wanting to listen to me. You know what I mean? It's a fucking sickness.
No, dude, yeah.
I don't get it. It's just how it is. And, even my profession, every 16 weeks, I get a new crop of humans that only listen to me. Like, they listen to me talk and they do things I tell them to do, but it's just not the same. You know what I mean? It's just not the same. I need that little bit of internet fame. I'm a dickhead like that, I guess. All right. So kudos to Kevin and Steph. They have joined the list of directors for the Book of Boba Fett. Which we learned in our next story is sadly only going to be 7 fucking episodes long. You know what I mean? That kind of shocked me, Nick, because I think all of us were just going off of, all right, it's Mandalorian 2.5. It's going to follow the same cadence. It's going to go 8 episodes. There were even leakers saying it could be 9 episodes. And then yesterday we get the official confirmation from Star Wars themselves that's only 7 episodes. I mean, that it seems a little odd, right? Like, why 7? Why not 8? Why 7? Why not 6? I guess. Like, I don't really like odd numbers either, but it seems, I don't know. I feel a bit shortchanged on this.
I agree, and I don't know if it is because that they're planning to pick up these storylines from Book of Boba into season 3 of The Mandalorian, so they didn't feel like they needed the extra for like a closeout or something like that. But yeah, I mean, when you're waiting as long as we've waited for this series, and especially since this series is taking the place of Mando season 3, and to have it basically pretty much start in fucking 2022. The whole time we were told like, oh yeah, this is 2021 series. Don't worry, December is going to be there. We thought we would get at least 2 episodes in December. We're getting 1, and it's on the 29th. And then to find out that we're going to be shortchanged in episodes, definitely a little disappointing. But you got to trust the guys, right? Like,
right, yeah. I mean,
nobody in Disney TV land
I'm being
has,
a little
has really
bit of
disappointed us so far yet.
a whiny asshole today. That's just, I don't know. That's kind of the tone of the show, I guess. And it's going to be great. This is more of like just a super Star Wars fan. Like, no, give us one more, right? One more play, one more turn. It goes back to that video game trope where you just don't want to put it down, even though you know that your time with it is probably over. So at 7 episodes, that means Robert's directing 3 of them. And then the 4 directors we just talked about, Filoni, Tankeron, or however the hell Nick was saying it, Green, and Bryce Dallas Howard. What do you think? I mean, bringing in the God to direct an episode, I'm assuming it's going to be an important episode because he's only directed important key narrative episodes. Does Filoni?
He's always directed like middle episodes too, right? Like, he typically does the middle and then one other.
Season 1, he did the premiere and one other.
Oh yeah.
Season 2, he only did the Ahsoka episode, I believe. Season 3, who knows? But either way, the episodes he does are very important.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, I don't think it was going to work this way unless he's directing the premiere, but do you feel like Filoni, his episode will be more dedicated to fleshing out flashback Fett or pushing forward new narratives for Neo Fett?
I feel like he should probably be the one to put the patches on the past because of his history with Star Wars. And basically that's what he did with the entirety of the Clone Wars series, was put patches on the past. So I think that he's uniquely qualified to do it. And I also think that they feel comfortable putting the future of this character in the hands of people like Rodriguez and Howard and those. So I would expect his to be a little bit more flashback heavy, maybe fuller story arcs that are playing out in the past instead of kind of pushing into the future. Seems like it would make more sense that way. But it's hard to get a read on it. And the fact that Favreau only has an EP credit on here basically means that he's pretty hands off with it. Like, I don't expect to see
he was
a lot
on set. Like, Nick, there were some images in Empire. I mean, he was on set. He was all masked up, and it looked like he was looking at the monitor. But yeah, I mean, he's not physically directing an entire episode. I'm sure he was on there, keeping the peace and maybe threw out some advice here or there. But yeah, I like Bat saying, and I think kind of what you were getting at. If we're going to explain Fett's survival and how he survived Return of the Jedi, Filoni is probably best suited to do that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that there's anybody better to do something like that. But I mean, it just depends on, like, we were always working off of this assumption that this show was almost going to be split like half and half, like half into the current timeline and half into the past. And maybe, I mean, it depends on how it actually plays out. Maybe there's just going to be like one episode that's like almost dedicated to the past and then fixing that, and then there's more of a focus on the future and the present moving forward.
It's going to be interesting because I know you were always like, I mean, you were the first one to like, hey, the Book of Boba Fett, what if it's just like him in the present, but then he has a memory about the past and we cover that, and that's an episode. But I actually, I don't know. I mean, based on the teasers we've been seeing, which is probably only one episode, two at the most, it seems like it may be more set in the present with just minor splashes of the past that I think are going to be used to showcase why Boba is the way he is now.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the past stuff, even though Tem said they are going to go back towards Empire, I think a bulk of it is going to be his time on the sands of a Tatooine desert, and how he kind of got back to health and found Fennec and his ship and all that shit. We'll be talking about that coming up here in one of our breakdowns. But yeah, I guess, I mean, the Filoni question, he probably is suited to bring him or explain how he was brought back to life, because it was probably his decision in the first place to bring him back. So
True. So yeah, I mean that's what I would imagine, and everybody else kind of does their own thing with, the current timeline. So I'm excited about it. I really do think that this is going to be a good. I think this is going to be a convergence point for the current Mando shows, and I think that this is also this could serve as like another branching off point for other shows.
It could.
For Ahsoka.
I mean, it's just that timeline now is the timeline, at least for a majority of Star Wars streaming shows that are planned. Everything is in that Mandoverse to, love it or hate it, set up what goes down in the sequel trilogy era. I mean, that's what's happening. That's what Bad Batch is working towards. That's what The Mandalorian is working towards, albeit with a much harder slant towards the Mandalorian culture and what the hell went on with them during the Empire's run and post-Empire. And if they can get their shit together and realize that, hey, if we stop worrying about traditions and wearing helmets and creeds and shit, we probably could kick any faction's ass and reclaim our planet, if not take over the galaxy ourselves. So I think we'll get a little bit of that too. I want to address props here in the chat. I had a feeling this was going to come up, so I'll address it. But props is saying, wait, so Devin and I were like, how come our boys at SWTS didn't support our pin? Okay.
What is that? I don't even know what it is.
Well, that was going to be my...
Also, I don't use social media.
That was going to be my first thing. If you ever want Nick to support anything, he'll do it. You just need to get it in front of his face, and that's not going to be through Instagram. Your best bet is to do it right here now on the show. Nick has supported many of the artists we talk about, including Super Scoundrel. And we did promote the pin anytime we were tagged in it. So here's a reason why I did not personally get one. It has nothing to do with props or Super Scoundrel. I love those guys. I mean, they're great fans of the show. They're dedicated Star Wars loyalists. You gotta love them. Plus, they both kick ass in their own art form. I don't collect pins. Okay.
Is it like an enamel?
Yeah, it was a great fucking pin for people that collect pins. It was one of those deals, like the shit that people wear in their con bags. I mean, it was a fantastic looking pin. But I don't collect them, so it was not out of spite to not support our dudes. It was just like I already spend so much money on collectibles that I don't need to collect. I just didn't buy one. Okay, there was only 75. I was leaving more pins for the masses to buy. It was limited edition,
limited run.
So there's your answer there, Justin. There's no malice. We supported you. We shared the sale, the videos, everything. I thought it was awesome what you guys did and that you sold out. So be happy with that.
Oh, so they sold out too.
Yeah.
Well, then we didn't need one.
Right. I mean,
but also, I don't collect pins.
But he probably would have bought one if you got it in front of his face. You got to remember.
Yeah, I mean, sure, I'll buy it and put it on something. It'll sit on the shelf over there or over there.
I know people don't believe me because they have no reason to, because I do act like a clown on this show. But Nick, I'm not kidding around when I say Nick literally tunes out of social media, everything. Like, the only reason he knows what's going on in Star Wars is because I feed him shit through our Slack and then we do the show on Tuesday. He's not crazy like me. He's not. He's a normal person that goes about his daily life and isn't staring at a fucking phone all the time. So
yeah, I can't do it. Like, there's just, I know I've said it on here before, but like, I've worked in social media advertising and marketing for 10 years at this point, and like, I can't dedicate a large portion of my time outside of work to being on social media. Like, I'll scroll an Instagram like once a day or something like that. But most of the time I am not on social media just because of...
Yeah, so Nick completely missed it, but it was a cool...
It looks nice. I'm looking at the pins now on Justin's page. I mean, they're fantastic quality.
I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming... we don't have any of our wrenches in here, do we? We've got, looks like we're getting some spam in the live stream. Any wrench? I know Tones isn't here. I don't think Devin's here yet. Nick, I don't know if you can do it on the fly.
You can probably block it as like the primary account. Like, if you're logged into the Star Wars Time Show YouTube, you might be able to block it from there.
Put user in.
but
There we go. I put the user in timeout. Whatever the hell that means.
just all nines.
For 300 seconds. Get the fuck out of here. What type of timeout is that? I might have to promote to. I might have to promote someone to a wrench.
Joe.
I know. That's what I might have to knight props as a new wrench here.
Yeah. Well, since we didn't buy his pin, we have to give him a wrench.
There we go. I dub thee a Star Wars time show moderator.
Yeah. So Justin, if you refresh the page, you should probably see the wrench.
I'm also going to dub Sir Joe as a moderator now too.
So if you guys should have the ability to time people out, or
it's like your Padawan trial. I just cut your braids off. You are now Jedi Knights.
There you go. So
all right, there we go. That was fun. We haven't been spammed in like well over a year.
I know it's been a while. But yeah, I mean, look, congratulations on the pin. I'm glad that people sold it out. You didn't even need our support to get it.
He was probably just, he said he's just messing around, but deep down he was probably upset. And I know
look at him with the wrenches.
There they are. Look at them. They're like Jedi Knights now in the live stream. Again, if you want to join the live stream Tuesdays afternoon, youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. And if you are in here, please like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, and pass it off to a friend, just like it's an STD. All right, Nick.
Here you go. All right, so we got these teasers that popped up.
Well,
right?
Before we get into those, buddy, I do want to share a word from our friends. Okay, just kind of
there we go.
Kind of get this going here. So let's get the virtual nuts flying. Whoa, there they are. Watch out if you're on the live stream. We've got nuts coming at your face. That's right, walnuts, not the other type of nuts you're thinking about. But you know what time it is. It's time to talk about our friends over at Manscaped. Ho, 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 gentlemen. The holidays came early here at Manscaped, the leading men's hygiene brand. Manscaped just launched new products, including their all-new, ultra-premium body wash and a 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. As you can see right here, live on the set, I have the shampoo and conditioner and the body wash. I also have bottles up in my shower because I love the way they make me smell and feel. So, hey, it's time to give yourself or someone who needs it, like Nick's feet last week, the gift of beautiful skin, hair, and balls this holiday season. So go to manscaped.com and use the code SWTS for 20% off. That's SWTS, not F, plus free shipping. All right, so jingle balls to the walls, fellas. Listen up. Untrimmed pubes are a thing of the past, and it's possible you have Santa's beard in your pants. It's time to leave your significant other some cookies and milk at the bottom of your chimney. I'm talking about the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. All right, Nick and I, we've been using this for months now. That package, you're going to get the Lawnmower 4.0. We get down there, groom up. Like I said, I got all cleaned up for Nick's return last week just to make sure he couldn't smell me through the microphone. We talked about Nick forgetting his foot spray from Manscaped, which cost his family and his girlfriend dearly at Disney World. So don't screw around, because inside the Performance Package 4.0, you're going to get the lawnmower, like I said, because, I mean, this electric trimmer has proprietary advanced skin-safe tech to reduce cuts on your nuts. If you don't pay attention, you still may, get a little blood down there, but thankfully, with their advanced skin-safe tech, it does reduce the possibility of cutting into your nutsack. It's also waterproof, so you can use it in the shower. It's like a gift to your partner with less mess. All right, so within the Performance Package 4.0, in addition to the lawnmower, you're also going to get the Crop Preserver and the Crop Reviver, an anti-chafing ball deodorant, and something I swear by. These days, I can't even put on my undies until I douse my balls in the Crop Preserver formula. You know what I mean? In addition to this hygiene bundle, it's also going to come with a pair of Manscaped anti-chafing boxers that'll keep your junk feeling fresh all day long. It really is the perfect package for your perfect package. All right, don't forget, though, about the new products here, all right? Manscaped just launched the 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner, which has key ingredients with benefits that include hydrating, nourishing, conditioning the scalp, plus strengthening your hair at the same time. 'Tis the season to load up on Manscaped products, so get yourself, your dad, your brother, and friends the best gift of all, the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code SWTS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Just use the code SWTS because we want you to clean up your nuts and make Santa proud this year. All right.
I love the boxers. I do. I bought extra boxers because we got the free ones with the performance package. But I went and I bought more. So Joe asking, do they have an auto ship option? So they do have a subscription option where you'll get stuff mailed to you once a month, I believe. So if you're a fan of the body wash or if you're a fan of any of the formulations, you can do a subscription and it will save you a little bit on each order. So
well, that's good to know because I'll be setting that up after using the body wash, and not that I need it. I look like Nick, but I still keep a little hair up there. The shampoo, it really is good stuff. Like I mean, the ad's over. This is just Matt and Nick talking. We'd tell you if it sucked. It doesn't. It's just like outside of switching my deodorant to a deodorant I shouldn't wear because I just sweat profusely, I feel like the cleanest and freshest smelling version of Matt that has ever existed, thanks to Manscaped.
Indeed.
All right, so like Nick was saying before we shared those words from our friends over at Manscaped, we got some Boba Fett teasers, and they're just the teaser type, the old 30-second variety where you're typically going to see them on a TV show or social media, all kind of 4x3 or 1x1 crop these days. But the first one we got was called Rain. So naturally, I watched it and I broke out some stills. I did not do a breakdown because it's like, who cares? This one came out on Saturday when I was about ready to jump off my roof. And by Sunday, when I finally posted, it's just like, it doesn't matter. There was a few new things in there. Nick and I can just talk about them on the show. And like I said, that was a growth moment for someone like me that has Star Wars coverage OCD, even though no one checks the shit out. So within the teaser, Nick, I grabbed 9 shots. They were new shots. We'll do what we usually do when we break something down. We'll go through each one, kind of give our thoughts on what we're seeing here and how it may play into the overall narrative that we're going to see in the book of Boba Fett. And really, based on the 2 teasers, I'm starting to get an idea of at least what is going to lead Boba Fett to the Ithorian. So let's get into it. All right. So if you're on the live stream, you're watching us now. If you're just listening, you can pull up the cast post that Nick will have for the audio only version up to look at the screenshots. But the first one we get, and I think this is a culmination of the scene we see where we get, it's kind of like a drone shot of Jabba's palace, and you could see like 2 figures walking up towards it. I think this is the end of it, and we see now that those 2 figures are none other than Fennec Shand, who has a one of these maroon goons locked up. I mean, she's got him. Yeah. She's essentially dragging him around the zoo like Amish people do with their little kids. And he's got one of those ropes tied around his hands to control him and dragging him around. So, Nick, it seems like this faction, maybe right off the bat, is already starting to fuck with Fett and Fennec. And I don't know, do you think like she was sent out to capture one? Or do you think she was out and about and they tried to fuck with her and she captured him and now she's bringing them back to Boba to see what they should do next?
So it looks like, I mean, I don't want to jump too far ahead in the screenshots, but it looks like some sort of chase may have ensued at some point in this episode where it's happening, and then maybe she snags one and then the other gets away. So maybe, who knows, like maybe these guys were trying to run they were doing some reconnaissance on Boba Fett's new operation, and they got caught and Fennec ran one of them down or something like that. But definitely seems like there was some, I feel like the screenshot 3 and screenshot 1 may be linked to each other. I'll put it that way. The chase scene with the two of them, and then her snagging one.
Yeah, I really feel like at this point, the Ithorian, whoever that's going to be, seems to be kind of pushing the envelope with Fett now that he's taken the castle. Like, all right, what's this guy? What's his plan to do here? You know what I mean? Like, I'll send some of my goons over there to check him out, to poke around, maybe even to try to take out Fennec if she's by herself. And that's what's going to ultimately lead Fett and Fennec to head on over to the Ithorian's palace and have a bit of a reckoning. If the wrenches are in there, our buddy Naked HD is back to being a dickwad, so if you could ban them, or clearly the timeout does not work from our end. All right, Nick, this next one here, and we have a more fleshed out version in the next trailer we're going to break down, but I can't put together who these people are. I mean, the first one, it almost looks like Fett without his helmet, but I don't think it is. Are these Jabba's capos heading over to Boba's meeting? Is it Boba with some of his goons going to, talk with the Ithorian? I can't... because it's a fast-moving scene, so any still you take, it's going to get blurred out, so you really can't see great details. Maybe we'll come back to this one in our second breakdown, because you get more of this lineup. But I don't know. I do not think that's Fett in the lead, even though it's a bald guy and he looks like he's in some armor. It just doesn't look like the proper armor. But it also doesn't look like those people that show up at Fett's castle, if you will, to kind of...
if you look at there is kind of a consistency in what people are wearing. Like, you see like this almost blue hue kind of outfit, and then it looks like almost all of them are wearing some sort of like vest. So I don't know.
Yeah, maybe like an armored vest
like
of some sort.
Yeah. Like maybe this is an opposing faction that's, doing some runs at the Fett compound, or we're like, we're seeing like half of a chase, and we're only really see like these people, but then like on the other half of the scene, you see they're being chased by Fett, or maybe
okay. So you think this is a chase scene, not just a moving to the next location moment? Like when Cobb and Din are riding their speeders, like one of those scenes. Like, all right, we need to get from point A to point B. Here's a speeder scene.
Yeah, it could be that for sure, but I agree with you that the characters that we see here don't look like anybody that we've ever really interacted with before.
It doesn't look like the Dogmen. It's clearly not the Maroon Boys or the Maroon Goons, I guess is what we'll call them at this point in time. Even the speeder bikes look somewhat unique. You could argue the fin at the front is similar to the Imperial speeders, but they have like high back seats, so two people. I mean, they look more like motorcycles or more like Harleys than any speeder we've seen in Star Wars, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, they're definitely more hog style.
Yeah, but like I said, we've got one in the message teaser that gives us a little bit more picture, so we'll revisit this. So Nick, I think you're right, and we're on the slide 3, like he was talking about, as if we're doing a presentation here. Like,
slide number.
Were you old enough for like the old slideshow things where you literally had to put slides into a circle thing and click it, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Great.
I was in school for those.
Yeah, and you probably had like old school projectors in school too when you watched, educational movies.
The overhead projector. Let's put the the clear. We had the overhead projectors. We had the
like film projectors too, VCRs, all that fun stuff. But anyways, back to the breakdown. So what we're seeing here, it's the Maroon Goons again, but they're in like some sort of parkour chase. And I think Nick very may well be onto something. This is either the chase that lands one of them on Fennec's bad side, to where she hauls him off to the castle, or this could be kind of the end of what may be a battle between Boba, Fennec, and a bunch of the Maroon Goons. But this one, there was a scene before this, it was just too fast. They're doing more parkour, same thing. But I think you may be right that one of these two bozos may end up getting caught They're either
like
being
maybe she like
maybe she's chasing them and they're running away. It felt like they were running away versus running towards. So
yes, I agree.
But I
maybe she like legs one of them, hits him in the leg, falls off a building.
Yeah, and like maybe she's in this town because this looks like that massive Tatooine city because you've got that plateau. You got those cliffs there. Maybe she's in town minding her own business, and these people try to fuck with her and it doesn't succeed, and then a chase ensues. Either way, I would not be surprised if one of these dudes is the same dude that gets caught taking the Fett, and then we will see in the next breakdown that they actually bring the prisoner to the Ithorian. We had not known that previously.
So one of the live stream listeners, Dan the Man, says he thinks it could be Tuskens, and I mean it's interesting because if it is Tuskens, they would have to. I mean, we've never seen Tuskens in anything but their full Tusken garb. Now, granted, like this suit basically covers the same amount as a Tusken suit, aside from the eyes. So, like, they have full face covering. Their whole body is covered. It looks like they're carrying some sort of long rifle on their back, probably a little bit different than the rifles that the Tuskens typically bring around with them.
I don't know. I mean, if it were Tuskens,
I don't know. You never see Tuskens in cities, though.
They would have to be like an offshoot crazy faction that kind of broke from some traditions, because Tuskens don't ride vehicles; they ride banthas, and they dress in those suits at all times. I mean, it's like I believe. It would be like similar to the Middle Eastern culture, where you gotta wear the burqas and all that fun stuff. You can't take it off; it's against your religion. So I do not think these are Tuskens, unless, like I said, they are kind of an odd gang that broke off and has kind of started doing their own thing, which, quite frankly, would be interesting as fuck. I don't think it's going to go that way. But hey, you never know, Dan. That's the fun of speculating. You just throw stuff out there and hope one piece of poo sticks to the wall. We got another shot of the big city, kind of like I said, a drone shot flying over. I still have no clue what this is. I mean, if you get down in it could feel like any of the Moses, but this is not a Mos we have seen. It's not Isley. It's not Espa. It's not Pelgo. This is some sort of mega center on Tatooine we have never been witness to. But this looks like where that chase is going to take place, and then ultimately where Boba and Fennec are going to end up to confront the Ithorian after, at this point, I believe, his goons have been messing with them. It's like I said, I really think the Ithorian he's testing things out. Like, all right, what is this guy going to do that just took over Jabba's palace? What can I get away with? Is he gonna fuck with me? Is it like Jabba? Is he gonna be ruthless? Who knows? But it's starting to kind of shape up that way. This one was great. This confirms, we knew we were gonna get him, but this is the first flashback we've got in teaser form. You have to think that this happens shortly after Nomad Boba finds Fennec in the desert after her season 1 Mandalorian death or supposed death. And it looks like they do. They go back to wherever he parked at Jabba's palace and reclaim the Slave One. So these are the moments, Nick. I think the present stuff's going to be fantastic, and I do think it's going to set up additional threads for the Mando timeline. But it's these little shit moments that I live for. It's the lore. I've said it 1,000 times. I love lore. I love revisiting lore that explains things that have happened in the present timeline. And these little scenes showcasing Boba in the desert, probably being resurrected by the Sand People, saving Fennec, working together, reclaiming the Slave One, putting their plan together to track Din Djarin. That's going to be talked about in this flashback if it happens. I mean, this could be them getting the Slave One and headed off to Tython to confront Din to get his armor back. So I am most excited for these types of moments, even though I think they're going to be fleeting and far and whatever the hell that saying is. I'm off the rail. There you go. Nick's got my back. I don't know. I just dug it. It's a pretty plain Jane stupid scene too. We know he gets the Slave One back, but I want to see these moments.
Yeah, it's something that fills in the history and now, I mean, like the current history, kind of like you're saying,
Yep.
because now we know he gets the Slave One back. We know that he doesn't have his armor when he shows up on, when we first see him, and now in this image we can clearly see he's still in his Tusken garb. He's got the gaffy stick on his back. He's got Fennec with him, so I'm sure that we'll see. This is probably one of the lead up scenes.
I think I just figured out. I mean, there may be a moment towards the end just to get things back in the present. But these moments could be how Din is brought into the Book of Boba Fett. Because you remember, at this right here in this scene, he had been tracking Din multiple times when Din came to Tatooine. So you would think they may explain some of that. Like, okay, why was he tracking him? Was it just because he had Mandalorian armor? Because he didn't know in season 1 when he crept up on Fennec. I mean, hell, Din didn't even have Boba's armor yet.
Yeah, no.
So he was tracking him in season 1, and why? Like, why was Nomad Fett so interested in this Mandalorian that showed up on Tatooine?
And it's not like he hadn't seen any other Mandalorians before, I would imagine. I mean, you had a whole, you have the coverts, you have people that are Mandalorians that are still active in the universe. I mean, hell, Bo-Katan and the Night Owls have been out and about. I mean, I don't know, maybe Din was the first one that he saw on Tatooine. Yeah, maybe there haven't been a lot of Mandalorian presence.
I mean, think
Tatooine.
about it, though. Just because a Mandalorian shows up, does that automatically equal I'm going to get my Mandalorian armor back? Like, I don't...
Yeah, no, he had no idea.
Why would he even care outside of just being intrigued by another person that has donned armor similar to his father's? So, but that can all be explained here, and that's the type of shit I love to find out. So I'm digging that we got a flashback. This, Nick, I want to make a comment on this one in a possible speculative guess, maybe even take it to the bank style. But we got a new angle of the dinner Boba hosts at his new castle, formerly Jabba's castle. We saw scenes of it before, but it was from a different perspective. We get this pulled out perspective, and lo and behold, they're sitting on the fucking trapdoor. Yeah. The entire table and where most of the capos are sitting are right on the trapdoor. And notice where Boba's positioned and Fennec are positioned. And remember the look he gave her in the full trailer, like, this isn't going too well. Should we go to plan B? Yeah. And plan B very may well now be, surprise, there goes the floor, back down into the fucking pit. And who knows, maybe a new Rancor's down there, the one that we've speculated and it possibly leaked that he may end up riding at some point. So I don't know, man. The way they have it set up, it just seems very precarious to have this feast right on top of the trapdoor with...
Dude, I wonder if he uses that as just like a point of leverage. Like if these people like eventually like look down and realize where they're sitting, and then that kind of like shifts the tone of the conversation because they're like, oh shit. Like, we didn't even notice we were sitting here until just now. And that the tenor of things changed a little bit when they realized that they could be dropped into a pit and eaten very easily.
Yeah, it seemed... I don't think Fett and Fennec set the dinner up this way on accident, I guess is what I'm getting at. And, Nick makes a good point. Maybe they don't drop them right into the hole, but it is a reminder like, hey, by the way, look where you're sitting. You may or may not know if there's a Rancor down there, but you don't want to find out type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But our dude's there, the torture bot. I forget his name. Is he 8D8 or is 8D8 the brown one that hands out jobs to droids? Either way, you get a little bit of an egg from Return of the Jedi in this scene.
That's him. That's 8.
I just feel like he's gonna kill all these motherfuckers, even though he's like, "Hey, we're let's be friends. Let's do it the right way." And we got another shot of this scene where he does stand up. All right, is he just standing up to make a point, or is he standing up to make a fucking point? If you catch my drift. So we
right down.
And then this teaser kind of closed with a few more shots of a fight scene, which we are guessing at this point takes place after the meeting with the Ithorian, where they're probably going to have a pissing contest, skirmish, as we've heard for months now that the Ithorian, the Hammerhead character, was going to be kind of a problem for Fett early on, and they are going to have a fight. At least their factions are going to fight. But the other part of that is down the road that they may have to link up to go against an even bigger threat. So we get a few more shots of that, and it looks like we're going to get to see Boba fire his gauntlet missile. Like, he didn't even fuck around with whistling birds. This dude has, it looks like like a tiny Scud missile on his fucking arm, and he's shooting it at one of those shields. So you gotta love when he breaks out the big guns to get the job done.
Oh yeah.
All right, so that was the first teaser there.
That was Rain.
Yeah. And then we had Message, which also gave us a choice screenshot, the one that I led with here. Definitely not as much new stuff here, but some things we might be able to add to our speculation effort. So up first here, now I'll definitely agree with Dan the Man that these hazy shots of these characters, these are definitely the Sand People, the Tusken Raiders, and more than likely the ones that save our friend. It does seem at this point, and it makes sense based on what he looks like, the weapons he's carrying by the time we see him again, that they're going to take him in, essentially. I really think that a lot of his growth, believe it or not, is going to come from his time with the Sand People and nursing him back to health. It clearly isn't Jawas that are helping him out. They probably picked his ass clean and left him there to die just to get his valuables and his armor. That's at least how it used to be explained, I think, in Legends, that Jawas found his dead body, or I think the Sarlacc like barfed up the armor or something like that.
The armor came up specifically,
right?
Yeah, because he survived in like old EU canon, but he didn't like. I don't know. The Boba Fett and old EU canon like kind of had a lot of different iterations, because some people did like in a video game, I believe you saw him literally like fly out of the Sarlacc's mouth, but then in like written forms, like you mentioned, the Jawas found the armor and then he made his way out on his own. So
yeah, I mean, to me that's still the most important scene in the Book of Boba Fett. It is like, we've all accepted him back. He's great. I love Boba now, but you gotta tell me, you can't Maz Kanata me on the lightsaber and just not pay off on this. You gotta show how the motherfucker survived. Because he gets sucked down there. You have to figure his jetpack is malfunctioned, so he probably can't even blast his way out. I mean, hell, it's still malfunctioned by the time Cobb has it. Remember, Cobb says, hey, tell your friends I wasn't the one to dent that or fuck it up. And he's pointing right at the rocket that Han hit with the stick in Return of the Jedi. I mean, that was a direct nod to that moment. But I do think, and I guess it makes sense based on how we've seen Din interact with the Sand People. Right, he's always respected them. Was like, no, this is their homeworld, motherfuckers. Like, you guys are the outsiders. He was one of the
first people that we've ever. I think he is the first person that we've ever seen actually speak to them.
Yep.
Like, have a conversation with them that isn't another Tusken.
And not treat them like animals. Like, he actually knows that they're helpful, they're resourceful, and if you want to get something found or done on Tatooine, you're probably going to have to enlist their help. And I think that is their culture and their way. Well, it's going to be one of the reasons why Fett becomes a different man by the time we meet him again in The Mandalorian. And as we've heard him say himself, like, listen, I'm changed. I want to rule with respect. I don't want to be a cocksucker, this, that, and the other thing. So clearly their way of life and however they nursed him back had an impact, a lasting impact on the character of Boba Fett. And like Robert said, this show is going to explore his true character, not just the bad boy bounty hunter that, would do anything under the sun as long as it was for a bounty. All right, so like I said, here is the Maroon Goon, as promised, still in bondage at the Ithorian's palace, meeting room, whatever you want to say. Like, we've seen him in this room. We just did not know prior that they had captured this Maroon guy. So I don't know, Nick, do you think this is all still the same scene, or do you think they come early and say, hey, dude, we got this guy, you're spying on us, you tried to fuck with Fennec, stop or you're going to have a problem? And then they go back and talk to the capos, and then they have to come back and have their big fight? Or do you think this is just one scene where they bring back the captive. They have some words. The words don't go the way either party wants them to go, and they have themselves a little shootout. And then Bo and Fennec kind of get in some shit outside in the streets with a much larger contingent of the Maroon Goons.
I'm kind of leaning that way because if you look in the background of this shot too, you can see the 2 Gamorreans that were there in the previous trailer.
That we saw. Are they dead already? Like, are they standing still?
I think they're standing.
Yeah,
so I think what may have happened is like this is the initial entrance. They come in with this guy, and then they hand him back over to the Ithorian, or they just kill this motherfucker right there, and and then that may trigger whatever happens from this point will trigger the ultimate kind of the battle that breaks out and eventually spills onto the street. But yeah, I mean, you can see the Gamorreans in the background. It's the same room that the scene was in previously. The only difference was that this, captured mercenary / goon wasn't in the shot. That could be that they just gave him over to the Ithorian and then they escorted him out of the room, or he was fucking on the ground with a bullet in his chest or something like that, or a laser burn in his chest. So
just something.
But I do think that this is the same scene.
I want to know what breaks down this conversation, because it's going to happen. I mean, we saw it, I think, in the full trailer. Boba's gun is smoking in this scene, which means it has been fired and probably fired precisely at someone's face. So what leads to the breakdown? Because you'd think if they won the fight, like, hey, you've already wronged us. We've already caught one of your guys spying on us. They just roll in guns a-blazing. But it seems like he actually wants to come in and kind of figure out, all right, who are you? Why are you fucking with me now that I've taken Jabba's castle? And what do you want? And then something from there goes south.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is his way, like this pre-negotiation, or like these words that he's exchanging, maybe his way of showing, like, look, in the old days, I would come in, I would kill you before you said a word, and then we'd be done with it. But now I'm going to actually try to engage in dialogue with you. So
this is the respect part of Fett. This is Fett respecting right here.
Yeah, it's like, look, I won't shoot yet, but if you get on the wrong side of me, I will shoot. I'm just letting you know. So maybe this is his version of diplomacy. This is his idea.
It's like, where do they go from here? I mean, could it even be like that this captor tries to say something and his own people shoot him, and then that starts a shootout? It's like, all right, well, if you're killing him because he's about to say something, clearly you've got a hidden agenda, so now I need to start pew-pewing your ass. I don't know. Is it December 29th yet? This is like, come on. This is when this stuff starts to kill me. It's like, all right, you're slow dripping this shit. We're starting to be able to piece together scene moments, right? Like, at some point, Fennec and this dude run into each other. There could be a chase. She captures him. She brings him back to Boba's castle, and then they ultimately end up here. All right, well, what's next? Why is there a fight? Why do they start shooting? Will Boba and the Ithorian have to team up? Does Boba fucking shoot the Ithorian right here? I mean, who's to say that he doesn't just blast the dude? So, I guess we'll just have to wait or see what the future teasers give us. Because at this point, buddy, now that they're dropping teasers every 48 hours, do you think we're going to get another like full-length trailer, or are we teaser sizzlers till the 29th?
I mean, we're only a month out, so I imagine that they're probably not going to drop another
big one.
I think we're just going to be, we'll probably catch 5 or 6 more of these spots, and then they might go on a little bit of a hold. I would assume that they may do like 2 a week or something like that leading up to.
Well, they're definitely going to be blowing them out on the weekends now that we're, you got college football kind of rounding towards its playoff season. You're going to have a bunch of conference championship games. Not that the Buckeyes are playing in any this week, but you're going to have a bunch of those playing Saturday prime time. So you could see maybe one popping off on the weekends, kind of like they started this past Thanksgiving weekend. So, but I don't know, I still think this is all episode 1-ish material here that we've seen.
Yeah, I agree.
So here's the big one, and I don't. We're talking about Fett in a back to tank. I guess my question to you, Nick, is this him healing on his own post what we saw in The Mandalorian? Because look, he still has...
He's got like the thing, yeah.
His eyebrows are back and his face is looking better. So my question is, I don't think this is him healing after the Sarlacc pit.
I don't think so either. I'm definitely in agreement there because we've seen him right out. I mean, not right out of the Sarlacc pit, but we saw
he
him
looked like
previously.
Shit. Like last season,
he had
like
scars on his face.
No eyebrows. He's all scarred up. So, and I think someone I think one of our fans commented as like a joke, like, "Hey, this is how he grows his eyebrows back." But I really think it is. Like, I honestly think this is him, possibly in the castle in his room, getting his heal on now that he has access to better technology.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This may just be like a routine for him now. It's like obviously the physical probably, like all of the physical issues are probably healed because of previous work in the back to tank it. But maybe he just does this like on a regular basis to like keep himself healthy, especially after the long time that he spent in the Tatooine Desert, the time that he spent in the Sarlacc pit. I'm sure he's got like injuries that we can't even, imagine.
Do we know? I want to go on a slight tangent here. Do we know if the Sarlacc has like acid-like capabilities to create burnt skin?
I think it does. I mean, based off of what C-3PO said,
it says you're slowly digested over 9,000 years, so that leads me to believe like there is no acid to break shit down. You just sit there and suffer in pain.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Like, I don't know.
So hear me out, because I mean, this version of Fett, it's not as evident, but if you go back to Mandalorian Season 2 Fett, he looks like a burn victim. Do you think his egress from the Sarlacc was him essentially lighting his suit on fire and himself to make the thing cough him up?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question because you have to, if you imagine the sequence of events that had to go down, his suit had to come out first. And it had to come out in enough time, like far enough ahead of him where somebody swings by, finds it, picks it up, takes it, and essentially just starts wearing it as their own for a while. So like, it's not like the suit comes out and then 2 minutes later, fucking Fett comes out. I imagine it's like the suit comes out and then like at the very earliest days later, Fett comes out.
Yeah, I guess. It could also be, like I said, the level of effort to get out of the suit. He essentially burns himself alive to make to make the Sarlacc regurgitate him. And because of that, he pretty much passes out. And then the Jawas come and pick him clean like a dead body, like vultures, and leave him to die. That's the only other way I could see it playing out. But I was getting at the reason he may look burned might be self-inflicted to get out of the Sarlacc. So I don't know.
No, that could definitely be it. Because, I mean, if there was any sort of acid
he'd be
at work,
dead
it
instantly.
would take way less than 9,000 years.
Yeah, he'd be fucking dead.
Digest him.
I mean, he would have been dead the moment that thing grabbed his leg and pulled him down. Just like, the Chipotle burritos I shoved down my gullet. They melt in my gut within 3 hours, and I'm shitting out corn within 5. So I don't know. This is an interesting shot because I'm not going to say I'm going to be disappointed if this is him healing in a flashback, but continuity wise, it does not line up with what he looked like in The Mandalorian. So I'm thinking this very well could be like SW Black Series Clips is saying in the live stream. It's a New Zealand spa for a man.
I definitely agree. I definitely think that this is it may be part of like his routine now, just to spend time in the in the pit or in the
because I mean he has up until he decided to get his ship and armor back, we have to think that he has just been kind of moseying around the Dune Sea, living with sand people, living on his own, living kind of off the land. So he probably didn't have access to back to tanks and the technology. Now I don't know how the fuck he replaced Fennec's stomach with robot parts when you live in the desert, but hey, it's Star Wars, it's science fiction. I'm not going to get too Neil deGrasse Tyson on it. It's I don't know.
Very true.
We could be running into some continuity issues in the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, but we'll see, because I do think that there's a little bit of room for some play with a scene like this, but I do tend to agree with you that there's likely not, or this likely isn't directly out of, because he wouldn't even have access to a back to tank for a while.
Yeah, I don't think if we're going with the idea that sand people will save them, they don't have back to tanks. Okay, they're not.
No, yeah.
They're not ripping their rags off and throwing one of those in their huts. I mean, they're nomads. They move around. Exactly. They're like the old Mongolian culture. They don't stay in a particular area. They load up their huts on their banthas and move on. Hey, it was interesting to see nonetheless, as you can probably hear from us. There's a lot of ways this could go, but to stick with continuity, this probably has to be in the present time after he has taken the castle by force. And then last but not least, like we said, there's a more fleshed out version of the speeder bike scene. And it looks like you got multiple dudes per bike. You got the high seat in the back, but it's like, what? Who are these guys? I don't know. It's driving me nuts, because even when they had a shot like this for Mandalorian, if you slowed it down, you could see like, oh shit, that's looks like Mandalorian armor on the back of his speeder, and lo and behold, it was Boba Fett's, and we found that out once we watched S2E1, but. I'm drawing blanks here, because they definitely look like a gang of some sorts, but they do not look like the gang that shows up at Jabba's castle.
The Ithorian, it's not the Ithorian gang either.
Nick, what do you think?
At least from
in this more expanded version, the last one, the speeder closest to us, could we argue that's a Gamorrean guard? Look how big he is. Look how big his arms are. It doesn't look like he's wearing a lot of clothes.
It's so hard to tell. I see what you're...
It doesn't look like he's even wearing shoes or like those wrap-up boots. I don't know. I mean...
Yeah. These could be scavengers. That's one other thing that we never really thought about, is like, because it looks like there's like something that they've scavenged hanging off the back of the speeder that's closest to us. Could be armor, could be something else. But it could legitimately be scavengers that are out there.
It does seem like a gang, though. They all have the same bike. They're just missing their patches and leather. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. It very well could be some thugs of Boba's going to do something. Because now that I look at it more and more, you could definitely argue the one there in the back is a large humanoid, larger than the other ones we see. Maybe it's a piggy, who knows, but there you go. So there's your two Boba Fett teaser breakdowns. Hopefully we muddied the waters up even more than you have done for yourselves.
We confused you to the point to where you don't even know what's happening now.
But
that's our goal.
I'm not gonna lie, as someone that feels compelled to cover Star Wars stuff, I kind of like these little things, because they're more or less like, all right, we'll talk about it on the show. There's no real reason to do a mega breakdown. So while I like a longer one to get even more insights into what we're about to get on the 29th, I'll take the low-hanging fruit that these teasers give us.
Yeah.
Okay, so these days Star Wars really is only streaming, or at least that's what all the news is about. And this is 3 weeks in a row now. I feel like we're talking about a delay, a cancellation, a creative difference, but and this came from the Empire issue, but it's sounding like Rangers of the New Republic is definitely DOA. But if we believe what Kathy's saying, it's really not a huge deal, because they didn't even have anything written for it yet. So here's the report we got. And again, this came from Empire's The Book of Boba Fett issue, which I think is on newsstands now if you go out and do that stuff. But just some context, Rangers of the New Republic was one of the 10 series, or I think they only announced 8, but she said there are 10 coming. Announced about this time last year, and with huge fanfare, and this is all before Gina was doing her thing. And she, as I said, social media bombed herself out of her Lucasfilm deal. I know that since you don't get on social media, have you caught wind of like people getting upset about Pedro and he liked to tweet about some guys that died. I these days I don't really go down those fucking rabbit holes anymore. Like, what's the point?
I know.
It's like,
I mean, I didn't even know about the Gina shit until you told me.
So anyways,
no, so I've seen nothing about that.
Everyone thought the show was going to star Cara Dune. No, so obviously when she gets kind of written out of Lucasfilm's plans because of her own actions, not because of anyone else. Let's remind everyone of that. Here's what Empire's reporting. Now, this comes right from Empire, this quote. So, Mando spinoff, Rangers of the New Republic, due to center on the Mandalorian's Cara Dune, played by Gina Carano, who Lucasfilm later stated is not currently employed by them following controversial social media posts, seems to be on hold. Oh, man. And likely absorbed into other series. All right, so it's pretty much dead. Possibly some of the ideas they had may be repurposed, but here's what Kennedy said in a follow-up quote. She said, "We'd never written any script or anything on that. Some of that will figure into future episodes, I'm sure, of the next season of The Mandalorian."
Yeah.
So is she talking this season right now, season 3 probably, or is she talking a potential season 4? Type of content?
I would imagine that she's talking about season 3, since season 3 is still
well, it's just shooting
like
now.
A year away.
It's like 2 months into its shoot, so they very well could have, if they had a banger of a story they wanted to tell in Rangers, they definitely could take elements into it and get it into this season.
100%. So I think that's what she means. I mean, in terms of the cancellation of the show, you have to imagine that they are probably starting to think about the potential of burnout flooding the landscape a little bit. I imagine that goes into it, and it probably won't take a lot for a show like this, which was essentially like what would be a spinoff with like all side characters. It's not going to take a lot to kill a show like that, because you already have so many other things in the works, and losing a show like this, which may have been cool if it did go through, is not going to necessarily hurt them in any meaningful way. You know, I feel like on the other hand, if you were to nuke a show like The Acolyte, that would be a little different, because that is a show that you're creating solely off of a brand new era that you have cooked up yourselves in the High Republic, and could potentially tie into a film, like an actual big screen movie. So like losing something like that would be a little bit more substantial than losing essentially a spin-off show of The Mandalorian. So I'm not too upset about this, honestly.
I mean, these days, dude, that December 2020 presentation is seeming to be just a big fucking smoke screen, right? I mean, it's got the big movie tentpole is kind of in limbo. Rangers is seemingly dead. But there was so many other things. Right. I mean, like on that 2020, I mean, like we focus on like those two things. Well, that's our
like
question of the week, by the way.
I
gauge the fans. Do they think more cancellations or delays are coming? And we'll get into that during the fan segment. But I don't know. It's just,
I mean, so far, this one, there was a clear reason why. Because of the Cara stuff. Right. And if that show was literally being developed for her, then there's no reason for you to say like, okay, well, let's take a production that had a plan of a star and that was going to cost us probably $100 million to make. And let's try to rework it now, because it's easier for them to just say, hey, it's not worth the money to try to remake this entire thing that hadn't even started yet.
Right.
And then for the movie too, like there is a reason behind that delay. Like the reason behind that delay is because people thought that Patty Jenkins was like untouchable after Wonder Woman 1, and then Wonder Woman 84 came out, and people are like, whoa, let's pump the brakes a little bit here. You know, let's give you a little bit more time to develop the script, in other words, you know? So I think that these are okay, but like people don't remember everything that was announced there. I mean, you had Taika's movie that was announced there. You had the Lando show. You had the Ahsoka show. You had the Book of Boba Fett. You had so many different Acolyte, like so many different pieces of content were announced.
I think everyone's forgetting the droids shit.
Yeah, the droid stuff. I mean, there were a lot of things that were announced at that.
I'm just starting to think that their marketing and PR should probably just learn to, like, you know what? Let's just wait a little bit. Let's just wait a little bit before we do a big dog and pony and then bring unneeded negative press upon ourselves when issues do pop up. You know what I mean? Because I get the rap that Lucasfilm has right now. It does seem like they announce stuff and then shit happens and it's either delayed or it's never going to happen or new people are brought in or creative differences. And it really is kind of becoming a meme within the community. Like, I don't know. I guess I just never thought I'd see Star Wars come to this point where shit gets announced and then it never gets paid off, or, you know, idiots are getting fired, or decisions are being made too early on creatives when you don't really have a full understanding of their abilities. You know, sometimes it was nice to just have the maker there in control of everything, which brought its own set of problems when you had one voice setting all direction. But it just seemed like things were a bit more stable when it was just Georgie boy. But we also weren't getting content, so, you know, I'm not sitting here like one of these goofball fans are like, oh, fuck Disney. It's like, well, if you fuck Disney, you don't get anything you like these days, and you would not have had anything Star Wars to watch since 2014, which is when the Clone Wars was kind of termed out. So gotta take the good with the bad.
I mean, it's hard for a lot of people to understand that too, and I think that it was hard for a lot of people to understand that when George still had it. It's like, not everything is going to be Empire. I mean, that's not how movie making works, especially, you know, trilogy-based, series-based movie making. Like, not every movie is going to be as good as the best movie. It's not possible. So,
and it's difficult when you, I mean, this could be sacrilegious to some people, but when you essentially create a Bible, it's hard to create a sequel to the Bible. George suffered from it. Disney suffering from it. And that's just that OT Skywalker saga is gospel to a lot of people. And it's just, it's never going to be, you're not going to get something within the Skywalker film saga that is ever going to match or meet what was achieved in the original trilogy. It's impossible. There's too much shit out there now, too many critics, too many different visions, too many different voices at play. But yeah, we're not big Disney party poopers over here. It seems like they may want to temper their announcements until they're a little more 100% sure on their projects moving forward.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I don't know, man. It's tough out there for anybody who's working in Star Wars right now, because it's like nobody wants to work on the movies. People just want to work on the TV shows, which is probably why you've had so many delays in the movies. I mean, you look at the creators out there that are clamoring to get on these TV shows. Robert Rodriguez, one of the most decorated directors in our lifetime, or one of the most popular directors in our lifetime, I should say. I mean, you have stars that are literally willing to take bit roles in these TV series and stuff like that. It's crazy. But then when it comes to the movie side of things, people look at the toxicity and the fan base around the movies and are like, I would rather not get involved. Like,
it's tough.
If I'm Robert Rodriguez, I would much rather do 3 episodes of TV that have, you know, comparable budgets to movies than me take on a movie and then get shit on for 6 months after it comes out.
Like, there is some sort of curse going on with films, and honestly, it happened way back in Empire. I mean, a lot of people forget. I mean, there was critics Yeah, I remember back then, not everyone was a critic because there wasn't the internet and there wasn't social media.
It wasn't possible
But
for everybody to be
a lot
critic.
of the early critiques of Empire were like, this movie's a pile of shit. And then that continued into Return of the Jedi. George has lost his touch. These Ewoks, are you fucking kidding me? This is like a kitty shit show. Blah, blah, blah. So as Nick has pointed out, there's almost a curse that comes along with Star Wars films versus streaming shows. Because even George got kicked in the teeth, the balls, the asshole, you name it. I mean,
He got beat up.
It still wasn't as amplified because it was still pre-crazy internet and social media. But the prequels were not kind to his psyche. And it's only continued into the sequel trilogy. JJ made a fine film in The Force Awakens, but it's still not good enough for a certain sect of fans. And then you know what happened to Ryan, and then ultimately the abortion that is The Rise of Skywalker happened. And yeah, who knows what's going on with the Johnson trilogy? I've had a feeling they shelved that years ago. Because you got to remember, they made that announcement before TLJ came out. This goes back to my point, like, hey, Kathy, everyone, fucking cool your jets a bit. You know, just because you think something's awesome in a meeting room or it sounds great in a pitch on the whiteboard, you may want to just chill out, all right? Because they made this, hey, we love what Ryan did. It's the greatest Star Wars movie ever. Look at the critics, 95%. It's amazing. And you know what? I loved working with him so much. We're giving him a trilogy. And then the TLJ comes out. It does not sit well with a group of fans. And it's just, I mean, and then Ryan kind of became the new poster boy to get punched in the balls, kicked in the asshole, spit on left and right. So I think they canceled the Johnson thing at least 2 years ago at this point, and they're just not going to say anything about it. Just going to let it.
Yeah, I would be surprised. Because basically their reasoning now is they could easily just say, well, you know, Ryan's very busy with his
he
franchise.
Started his own
Knives
franchise. You know, there's going to be
company.
Knives Out 10. But listen, as sucky as it is for someone like Ryan, because I actually do believe he's a great artist, he's pretty much blackballed in Star Wars now. Like
I wouldn't want to do if I was Ryan. I wouldn't.
No, he can't win. He cannot win. He can make the best fucking Star Wars movie of all time. People would still just either not go see it or form opinions on it without seeing it, which, you know, a lot of humans like to do these days. And it'd just be bad for business, sadly. I mean, look what happened to Solo. He wasn't even a part of Solo, and Solo took it on the chin based on TLJ backlash. I mean, you think they're going to want to give a guy millions and millions of dollars to make movies where they know built in there's a sect of the audience that is just going to boycott and FUD the hell out of it? So
they're gonna hate it without having seen it, and like.
I mean, he could make Luke Skywalker the trilogy and just have Luke do nothing but fuck people up as a Jedi Knight and Jedi Master, and people would still be like, "Fuck him, he sucks. He ruined Luke Skywalker already." So I just sadly, I would have liked to see what he did because again, TLJ's not perfect. Really, none of the movies are, but I liked his ideas of you don't need to be a god to be a hero in Star Wars. And sometimes when you are a god in Star Wars, it's bad news for you. All right. And that's the message he was pushing. He was essentially saying, listen, look how fucked up Ben Solo is. That's because of his royalty. And look who is going to save us all. Some desert rat with no special connection. It can be done. Her and Broom Boy are going to save the galaxy. But no, we then had to Palpatine, somehow he's back and all that fun stuff, and here we are.
We'll see. I mean, if anybody can save the movie universe right now, I think it's Taika. I mean, if we just have to wait until his movie comes out, until a movie comes out, I'd be fine with it because, like I said in the previous show, I'm totally okay with this current content rate. You know, we're getting 2 to 3 new seasons of shows every year. We're getting new shows basically every year. we're expanding.
Oh,
in terms of
you're right, man. But
the characters and everything.
This was not in the cards when they bought
no
the license.
In 2014 when they signed that fucking contract, 15, whenever it was.
Yeah.
No.
So just imagine, if they did not pursue shows like The Mandalorian, we'd be sitting here with thumbs up our ass. There'd be nothing. Like the films, essentially, the plan for the films were completely and forever altered after The Last Jedi. I mean, we would have ended on Rise, and then that's it. And just like, all right, Disney's find someone else to sell the fucking franchise to. But oh well. Book of Boba is still coming December 29. And if you do the math, now that we know it's 7 episodes long, that means it should end in February. Okay, like mid-February. And if they run one of their planned MCU shows, that MCU show should be wrapping just in time for early May, late April, for what I am predicting will be Kenobi's slot. I really think Kenobi's slot. Let me touch the slot. I feel like Kenobi is going to be their May the 4th extravaganza, kind of like they did with Bad Batch last year. It makes too much sense. I mean, Andor, to me, sounds like it's fucking dead. I mean, it's shot for many more months than Kenobi. It's just like nothing. You get nothing on Andor. So I think...
It is weird that they essentially just have said nothing about
nothing.
That show.
Not a fucking thing. Like it's like it's dead. It's another one that they're hiding, but we know they actually went out, paid money, built sets, filmed scenes,
built big sets, like city-sized sets,
but nothing. So that's why I believe that they're kind of putting full focus on Kenobi to get out first. And if we believe those reports from an investor call, Andor is going to be kind of the late summer leading into fall show, which will then dip into The Mandalorian Season 3. Hopefully not late December like Book of Boba Fett. I'm hoping Mando S3 hits its usual time or usual month of late October, early November. But maybe we'll see some Rangers of the New Republic content in it when it does hit. Because it ain't going to be in the show.
No, there's no show happening now, so...
All right, here's another one. Like, again, back to our point on Andor and it just kind of being, mute. There's nothing. You get nothing out of it. You don't even get leaks anymore. But over the past 2 weeks, we've been getting a steady stream of Ahsoka series news. And the latest bit we got this week is that Ivana Sakno has been added to the Star Wars Ahsoka cast. This young lady... she was in Pacific Rim Uprising. I know she's done some other TV work, but apparently she has been cast. She'll be joining Rosario, Natasha Liu Bordizzo, Hayden Christensen, who, we know who they are playing. Apparently, Sakno is playing a brand new character. All right, so it's not clear if she's going to be good, bad, or in the middle like our buddy Boba Fett. But she has been added to the cast. And I kind of say, like, if we're just going off of appearance, I mean, she could play anything. She could play an Imperial. She could play, like a bounty hunter.
Assassin.
Yeah, an assassin.
Bounty hunter. Yeah, anything.
Yeah, so I don't know. She's got a Star Wars look to her for sure.
She does. I like her look. She hasn't done much. I mean, you pretty much named the thing that people may have known her from, which is Pacific Rim Uprising. She was also in that movie, The Spy Who Dumped Me, for a little.
That's what this shot is from. Well. And I think she was an antagonist in that show.
Yeah. So, and then she did. She started off literally in Russian theater and TV. So, hey, it's hard to peg her for any specific type of character because you haven't seen her in much. But
does she
that,
have an accent then? I mean, I'm not going to say a horrible one, but does she have that Eastern Bloc like that?
I remember so little from Pacific Rim Uprising that I can't even tell you. I will say her name in Pacific Rim Uprising is Cadet Victoria with a K, Viktoria, which is typically a more Eastern Russian way of spelling the name. So probably, but I couldn't tell you based
she's
off
like,
of
oh,
just
Mother Russia, like that type of stuff. Because if she does have that accent, that's perfectly set for like bad guy type of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't heard a lot of accents outside of like
English or American
in Star Wars. Right. Yeah.
Well, it's like Neil said. I remember when we interviewed Neil, one of the prop makers that worked on Star Wars movies. He's like, no, the bad they had to dub his voice or whatever. No, he played an Imperial, didn't he?
Yeah, he played in there.
But basically, he's like, if you speak British, not that that's a language, but if you have a British accent, you're a bad guy in Star Wars. The Americans are the ones with the American accent are typically the good guys.
Yeah. So, who knows? We'll see. Maybe she'll be the first person in Star Wars to have like a Russian accent or something like that, like an Eastern Bloc
I can see her like being a loyalist to Thrawn. I don't know. She just looks like she could sit.
Somebody.
Honestly, she could be that. What was her name? General Price. But I know she gets herself killed in Rebels. But I mean,
Price is.
She has that look. Yeah, she could have that look.
Blonde.
Well, I mean, they put like a black wig on her and she could play an Imperial, but I don't know. So there you go. Yeah. So like I said, Ahsoka is starting to flesh out. Dave is still writing their plans to shoot March, April of 2022, and we're expecting it to air sometime in 2023. Okay, hopefully before the fourth season of The Mandalorian. Because at some point, they got to bring all these back together. I mean, if they're sticking to that plan, which they've lost one wing of some of the Mando timeline stories they were meant to tell that we're then going to eventually lump back into The Mandalorian for a big team-up type of either episode or season. But yeah, I would think the Ahsoka series would probably air before Mando season 4, just to give Mando season 4 maybe even more content and more threads to play off of. Okay. All right, man, it is fan segment time, and we got to get moving to stick to the clock. We've really been trying to hit our 2 hours and 30 less, although I just got an email that may be of interest to some people here, Nick, and they actually found our real email, and it didn't just go to spam. But have you heard about this? There's a Star Wars Galaxy Restoration 3 project going on.
Oh, the game?
That first MMO, Star Wars Galaxy. So anyways, here's what this PR person's saying. Howdy, I'm Talon with the R3 community team. We're a Star Wars community project looking to restore the MMO Star Wars Galaxy and bring it to the modern day with some much needed improvements. Initially, we had a difficult launch. We needed it to upgrade hardware, fix shit, blah, blah, blah. However, since then, our development team has grown fourfold, and with our 1.0 Mustafar release right around the corner, we anticipate a lot of players returning to the game. We were very proud to, within months of launch, all right, whatever, have 10,000 unique accounts signed up. If any of this piques your interest, we're open to interviews with the developers and team leads, if that's your cup of tea. What the fuck is this? I'm going to go pull up their website real quick.
I guess it's like an interview request for the show for like these developers. I mean, so basically what's happening is Star Wars Galaxies was killed in 2009.
Yeah, I've got their website pulled up now.
Yeah, so like they killed Star Wars Galaxies when Star Wars The Old Republic released. So essentially their sunset date was the same day that Star Wars The Old Republic launched. And this is going to be like a resurrection. So they're going to like reopen servers for Star Wars Galaxies. I mean, it would essentially be private servers, but open to the public.
I'm actually surprised this hasn't gotten shut down yet, because Lucasfilm is usually pretty quick to kill this stuff.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how that works now. Like, I'm not sure how the licensing works for stuff like this. I will say that it's not a remake. Like, they're not actually doing anything to the game, or at least I don't think that they are. Like, I don't think that they're doing further development to the game. I think what they're doing is they're just opening up servers for it. Like, so just making it playable again online by other people. At least that's to my knowledge, but I'm not
who knows?
sure.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll think about it. We'll ask him questions on the show, but that just came in. William Boyko. Oh, we had some guesses in there. Ketsu. I guess they're talking about the Ahsoka lady, or Alani of the Chiss. I would have to defer to Nick. I don't know who the hell that is.
Arlani is basically like one of the during his time in the Chiss expansionary fleet, Thrawn's time in the Chiss expansionary fleet, Arlani was like one of the other admirals.
Got you.
Like she had her own ship.
All right. Oh well. So I guess if you liked Star Wars Galaxies, there's some people doing some stuff. I think Nick's right. It sounds like they want to almost downgrade it, because it sounds like one of the final upgrades fucked the game up, or at least how people like to play it. Who knows? I mean, gamers are just as angry as Star Wars fans. So these days, I don't know if it's people just bitching or if they have a valid reason to be upset. That
would happen a lot with like World of Warcraft, where like people would start private servers that didn't include the most recent expansion because people hated the expansions when they came out. So they would go play on private servers that didn't have the whatever content, the Cataclysm content or whatever the shit was in. So it sounds like it's similar to
All right. Oh, well. I thought I'd read it because someone actually took the time to find our email and send it to us, and it wasn't just a bot. So thank you.
Yeah.
All right, well,
check it out.
Like I said, we're moving into this week's fan segment, E190. That's right, 10 away from 200. And that just means we've had 190 fan segments since we started the Star Wars Time Show, because we love our fans, even though they do not love us. So to get involved in the Star Wars Time Show, like I said, we have a two-pronged affair. You can either participate in the fan question of the week, which gets posted every Tuesday morning on our Instagram account at Star Wars Time Show. And based on what you put, we may read it during the fan segment. The second way is through our top 5 Star Wars artist features of the week, which also requires you to get involved through our Instagram account at Star Wars Time Show. If you share any type of Star Wars art, be it traditional art, photography, toy photography, cosplay, tattoos, the bathroom art we always talk about, make sure to tag at Star Wars Time Show and use the hashtag Star Wars Time Show. I go through those every morning and feature them on our Instagram. And then every Monday, Nick sits down and judges the lot that I have just put out in front of him. And he picks his 5 favorite, which are then honored and discussed and highly praised to close out an episode of the Star Wars Time Show. So, buddy, let's go ahead and get into the question of the week. Let me prep the Slack up here, make sure we got the right screen shown and not our secret chat where we talk shit about everybody. Yeah, this one. Question to fans. Boy, my system runs slower and slower and slower. Okay. Almost ready here. I'll take the first one, Nick. You can have the rest.
Okay.
The first one is we're getting noodled from the producer here. So the question of the week, and I always try to theme it to a topic we are going to discuss on the show. So this week I said, with Rogue Squadron being delayed and Rangers being scrapped, which announced Star Wars property will be delayed/canceled next? You got to remember, I'm the glass half empty one on the show. So, of course, my questions are sometimes going to be in the negative space of Star Wars. So we're like, hey, what do you all think could get scrapped next? What project that has been announced is going to meet the axe of creative differences and end up on the floor? So up first, we have Baron Black Series. That's our producer here. He's been on an extended break. I believe he's going on paternity leave even before he has his child. All right, but Spencer says, This podcast should be canceled or delayed next. Too woke. Just kidding. Probably Lando. We haven't heard much from it. So thank you, Spencer. There are times where I think you are correct. It probably should just stick the fucking fork in Matt, right? Like,
too woke.
Yeah. Too woke. I like that.
Right.
I think I
Too
made that comment
All right.
last week when I was like, yo, I'm enlightened, but I'm sure I'll be accused of being woke because it doesn't bother me when non-white men are in TV shows or movies. Like, I don't care. That shit doesn't worry me. Like, I'm not someone that sits there, don't force it down our throat. They're different looking people. Don't make us watch that. I mean, just listen to that statement. And a lot of people that don't think they're racist say that statement. So reevaluate yourself.
You don't have to watch anything. You're making choices.
I understand that, but it's the whole like, don't force that stuff down our throats, meaning don't put people of color, don't put LGBTQ people on TV. How dare you? You know what I mean? It's like, get over it. You're not that special.
All right.
Okay. Up next we got a twofer.
Bat27977 says, I've got to think Lando will get dumped only because Ryan's project is rumored to be shelved already. And then Failed Imagineers says, agreed. I don't think Lando is going to happen. It's going to get to a point where too much time has passed since Solo came out and it just won't make sense. I mean, everybody's thinking Lando's
dude,
I don't know
it was
what
almost
connection Lando has to Ryan's project, though, in Bat's initial reply. Because I don't think that those two were ever linked in any way.
No, I don't think he's saying linked. I think he's just saying, well, if Ryan's stuff's already canceled, I guess my guess will be Lando, I think is what he meant there.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if we did a poll for this, Nick, I think Lando would have won in a landslide. Most people were like, yeah, our boy Rico Suave is not going to see the light of day.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Horsefather says, I just think that they tried to do too much. They seem to be very scared of making a film. Just put Favreau and Filoni in charge of content. We should be good. Filoni is.
Okay, thank you. I want to, because we get this a lot, and I think a lot of people got to remember like how businesses function, especially in entertainment. You have the creators, and then you have the money providers. We don't want to get our Johns and Daves mixed up in the business side of things. We don't want them having to produce shit and taking their time away from the creative stuff. So just in case everyone forgets, Dave Filoni is the chief creative officer for Lucasfilm now. He is the man. Fuck the story group. It's Filoni. So we should be good. As long as they are using him and at least running ideas by him, I feel much better than I did back when it was the story group that were having ideas ran by them, because they're the ones that greenlit the sequel trilogy and how it played out. Favreau, let's keep letting him develop the Mando universe, all right? There's no reason to get him mixed up in the red tape of what a Kathleen Kennedy does on a daily basis. So, Force Father, you're good, buddy. They're already in charge of the content via Filoni, so we're there.
Yeah, so no worries. Grief Cardboard says, though,
I love when Grief pops
Cardboard, the Grief Cardboard Chronicles. Although not Chronicles, not Chronicles. Chronicles. Although not announced yet, I hear it's on the slate for 2025. Then creative differences will prevail as Lucasfilm is unhappy with number of hand thingies being utilized throughout the series.
Do the hand thing.
But I'll agree with the previous comments that Lando isn't going anywhere.
Love dead, man. We
have the show, fellas. Keep up the good.
We have killed Lando on the Star Wars time show. Like, our fans are just
like, I don't know why people have new. Like, the funny thing is like, it's been a year. Like, I think that people think more time has passed since that initial announcement with all these shows. It's only been a year.
I know. I think it's the fact that
they've already started developing 3 of them.
Right. And I think it's the whole we haven't heard or seen anything, which is a fair statement, where they have seen stuff with like the Acolyte or, Visions came out, Bad Batch came out, Lando and stuff like droids. I mean, if I didn't mention droids, it's like, would you have even remembered? You know what I mean? So it does. It's like if they're not talking about shit, it does kind of feel like they may just die
It's
away.
gone.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
if a tree falls in the forest and no one no one hears it, did a tree really fall? That dumb thing,
Yeah. It's like one of those things where the amount of like people are shitting on Disney for like they're not doing anything but like the amount of work that they've done with Star Wars since last year's announcements is pretty fucking crazy if you think about it. They released Bad Batch, a brand new series. They've completed filming on Kenobi. They've completed filming on Andor. They have completed filming and are launching Book of Boba Fett. They have finished and already released Star Wars Visions. Like, the shit that they've done in a year is pretty fucking incredible.
You're not wrong.
If you think about it.
You're not wrong.
But
we're talking about Star Wars fans, buddy. And if you put up a graphic that has, 8 or 9 banners of shows, well, God damn it, you better keep talking about them and giving us news or we're going to get upset.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's amazing to think about. Just think about the amount of money that's been spent on just the live action shit. Kenobi, probably $50 to $65 million.
Dude, I bet overall they're pushing $500 million at this point.
Yeah,
if not
with
more.
Just the shows
more.
that they've done this year. That's not even including like that. That's like Ahsoka. I didn't even mention Ahsoka. Ahsoka's started filming already. Like, if they would have thrown Lando on top of that, you're talking another probably $75 to $100 million. And they're like, okay, well, let's not fucking, break the entire bank on just Star Wars.
You're 100% right, but I think it also goes to the argument I was trying to make. Like, you can't get all these going at once. So is there a reason to vomit up all this news where shit could happen along the road and then you just look dumb? Like, we know that they're probably making the right decisions for the business and the franchise, but to most fans, it's like, you fucking announced it, you better give it to us, or it means everything is on fire at Disney with Star Wars. You know what I mean? It's like, you're better off. And it's the same thing in video games. I mean, look how angry people are getting over Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. Where the fuck is it? You announced it 2 years ago. Give us the damn game. We want Lego Star Wars. You promised it in 2019. The end of the Skywalker Saga. Where is it? It's like...
It's wild.
But it's because it was announced. They know it's out there. And if you don't get it delivered in a timely manner, people go crazy. So... if anything, I was just happy to see the return of Grief Cardboard to the fan segment via the comments, because I always have a laugh when I see that name, and they're usually good comments. So
they are good.
Thank you, Grief. So. We speak your name.
And the last one, just to close out everybody's thoughts here from Drew Toys. I don't think Lando will ever get off the ground.
Yep. Well, stick a fucking fork in it, man.
Hey, man.
You better.
Apparently, Lando's dead. Yeah. Our fans have dubbed it deceased. R.I.P.
That's what I mean.
Never off the ground.
They fucking put it 6 feet under. The tombstone is already on top of that freshly laid soil. It is gone. There is no Lando in the Star Wars time show universe anymore.
No more.
It is fucking dead. Just call him up and tell him it's canceled at this point.
Dude, I guess so. I mean, what else can we say? But yeah, so apparently the wide consensus is that Lando is not going to happen, even though they have literally developed every other piece of content that they've announced except for Rangers. That's the only one.
Which makes sense that it got whacked because your lead's gone, so you can't.
The literal lead character that it was being developed around is no longer working for your company anymore. So.
Yeah, we'll see.
But,
we'll see. Hey, if anything, like I kind of like all the negativity because that's how I live. Because I always set myself up, and it's probably not a great way to live, but I always am in a somewhat miserable state. Just so if something horrible happens, I won't be completely crushed. But also on the flip side, if something good happens, it makes the good that much sweeter. All right. It's a sick way to live. Like being a pessimist that always thinks the worst is going to happen is not healthy. But it is a mechanism I have created in my mental health tool belt to deal with my fucked up head. I kind of went into even the game on Saturday between Michigan and Ohio State. I always go into that thinking the worst is going to happen, hoping the best is. It doesn't really make me feel better as I'm watching the train wreck.
You mentally prepare yourself for the L, so it's not as hard.
Dude, if I didn't live that way, I don't even know if I'd be able to do the show today. Like, that's how hard I probably would take stuff if I didn't mentally prepare for the worst. I mean, if something pops up on my body or my skin, I have cancer. I mean, that's instantly where I go to. Oh, my throat has a lump. It's fucking cancer. I'll be dead in 10 years. Oh, my balls are itchy. It's fucking cancer. Oh, I feel like a hemorrhoid's popping out. It's probably not a hemorrhoid. It's probably cancer. I mean, that's it. That's where I operate. It's like I prefer to be, like I said, in a state of misery, just to be ready to blunt any misery that does happen, but also to make the joy that much sweeter. Like I said, I don't recommend it for anyone. It's not a healthy way to live your life, but so far it has worked for me. I have not gone to prison for doing anything that drastic yet. All right.
There you go. All right. And that was the last answer for the question of the week. I'm glad that everybody has buried Lando underground, but it's time to move on to the top 5 Star Wars fan art features of the week. Matt told you earlier in the fan segment how to get involved. You use the hashtag Star Wars Time Show on all of your art posts, and then you tag us at Star Wars Time Show as well, and we will see it. All right, let's kick off this week's top 5 with, if at shoot.toys keeps putting out work like this, it's hard to not get him in the top 5. It's hard to deny him a spot, but what we see is another one of these fantastic perspective shots that we saw a couple of weeks ago from him. And this time what we see is good old Snoke's head on the ground, blood splattered across his face, while also looking up to the ongoing fight scene between Rey, Kylo, and the Praetorian Guards. I mean, it's such a, this particular type of shooting that Shoot.Toys does just produces some fantastic looking images.
I mean, dude, you're 100% right. And I have to say, it could be the most challenging way to shoot toys I've ever seen. I mean, think about how these scenes have to be cooked up. You're essentially building your scene based off of, your foreground subject is going to be taking up most of the frame, but that the background also has to make sense to kind of flesh out the moment. And as Nick says, we're essentially seeing the moment where Snoke gets decapitated, but the focus is right on Snoke's chopped off head. But I think the beauty of the shot is it's that forced perspective, but also the whole other scene happening in the background from that moment in The Last Jedi, which I consider to be one. I wouldn't say the entire fight in The Last Jedi in Snoke's throne room was great. There's some actually pretty major gaffes with the stunt guys, not the stunt guys, but the actors just completely missed their fucking marks. And you can see the stunt guys are like, just like wailing around. But the moment where they're in there and you're like, is he going to fucking do this shit? He's going to do it. He's gonna fucking kill Snoke. Like, that is the first time I saw that moment. I don't give a fuck what you people say about TLJ. That was a fucking shock. Like, that, I don't think anyone saw that the supposed big bad of the sequel trilogy was gonna get wiped out in the second movie by his apprentice. It was something Darth Vader couldn't do, and here we go. Ben does it, and the way it happens was awesome. Because you think it's gonna be Rey. Like, you kind of know once he starts turning the saber, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, like once the monologue starts to happen.
Even though what Snoke's saying sounds like he's talking about Kylo doing it to Rey, he's actually talking and narrating. Hell, he's live calling his own death essentially in that scene. His own death, yeah. And then it happens, and like I said, it's a great moment. The fight gets a little squirrely, but it's actually a pretty legit scene in all of Star Wars, and I think at Shoot.Toys here just captured it in a way that I would never even think to try and shoot it. And that's what this crazy forced perspective lens that the dude has is providing. It's such a unique take on an iconic scene from Star Wars. And that's kind of been the theme that Shoot.Toys has been going with.
Yeah. I mean, it's super fun. Love the style, love the shot. Awesome work at shoot.toys on the Instagram. All right, next up. This is
Just
a
brilliant.
nice little
fucking brilliant.
beautiful homage to the Macy's Thanksgiving
So
Day
good.
Parade, I guess you would say, from at Rippick_tan. So this time Rippick didn't make the comment section, but he made the top 5. And I mean, the shot's perfect. So essentially what you see is the big Grogu balloon it would be for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. But then you have all of the players on the ground underneath it. You have Jon Favreau, who I guess is his character from Iron Man. That's where the figure comes from. You got actual Grogu there in the little bassinet.
Filoni.
You got Queel. You got C-3PO, Filoni,
Boba,
Chewbacca.
Bo-Katan. I mean,
yeah, Grief Karga. You got all of them. Everybody's on the. Everybody's here. I mean, it was just such a perfect shot for the holiday that just passed, the Thanksgiving holiday that just passed. I mean, it was just. I don't think you could do better for a shot like that.
I mean,
this is literally almost perfect execution.
I said this a few weeks ago when you nominated Rippick for another top 5. Like, the dude is coming on strong these days. Not only with ideas, but the execution. Like Rippick has reached a level I have never reached and I never will reach, because it seems the hobby is passing me by at this point. But they've reached a level where, you know, the pros get to, where you've got the mind for it, right? You've got the creativity, but you also have the skills to execute. Because this is a completely practical shot, Nick. There's no bullshit here. Like that's all in camera. It's not like he composited in the Grogu float afterwards. It's all there. It's all practical, and it's just like I said. It's having the idea first and foremost, but then being able to execute it in a coherent looking image. Because, you know, not to be a dickhead, there's a lot of people out there, and I'm probably one of them, where, you know, you have an idea and then you try to execute it and it doesn't work. It looks like toys were set up to do something. This feels like a Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade happening in the Star Wars universe. And it's just well done on all fronts.
Definitely, 100%. So beautiful job at Rippick__. There's 2 of those. Tan on
and they actually,
IG.
The best part is they actually had a Grogu float this year. It was the Funko Grogu, but they had this in the parade. It's just fantastic.
Awesome stuff. All right, next up we have at Coleccionista_day_plastico. And I mean, this is just a cool shot. So what we get is kind of like a perspective-based shot where you see in the foreground little Grogu there, got some atmosphere going around him. Then I guess it would be like the mid-ground. You see his master, Luke, behind him. And then in the background, you see Luke's master, Yoda, kind of off to the side as well. And it's like it's almost like a generational capture.
Yeah.
Of, like, you know,
it's master
Jedi
watching master watching apprentice, essentially.
Apprentice, yeah. And I just thought it was really cool, and like the idea to kind of put in a little bit of like bokeh effect to spice up the atmosphere around the shot a little bit, I think does add a nice little touch.
You know
to
what,
it.
Nick? I took it as, if you look at Luke's hand, it's kind of doing like a slight
kind of like
force
pose,
so it's almost like he's showing Grogu, like, ooh, look at, you know, he's kicking up the dust and particles, and Grogu, you know, he's like, ooh, now give me a macaroon, you son of a bitch, right? He's like, I need to eat. Where's some eggs at?
Yeah, but no, I mean, just the shot itself is just really really well executed, and I think it is a very poignant shot showing kind of the master, like you said, watching the new master who's training his new apprentice.
How long before we see these two again?
Yoda,
No,
I mean, Grogu and
Luke.
Luke. Yeah, Grogu and Luke is, I don't know, Mando season 3 maybe?
Because I don't know. I still believe it's something you probably are going to have to pay off on in something, because Grogu became too big of a thing for him to just disappear and never be talked of again, and especially disappearing with Luke fucking Skywalker. So I'm not saying we're going to get a Luke show or a Grogu show, but it does feel ripe that we should get a check-in at some point.
Yeah, So I do think Mando season 3. That's
Okay.
Or actually, probably Ahsoka. If Ahsoka releases before Mando season 3, that's probably going to be where you're.
It would be a more natural kind of reappearance of Grogu and Luke, right? I think you're spot on, because it's just like, why would Din, outside of his love for the child, really need to bring him into whatever conflict he is getting mixed up in with Mandalorians? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't. There's no natural fit to like that relationship again, unless it's like he gets called in by Luke for some reason.
Yeah.
Like Ahsoka makes a little bit more sense because of the Force angle, and
right?
She
knows Grogu. I'm sure she knows of Luke. I think just Luke and Ahsoka meeting is a fan kind of bucket list moment. I mean, let's be real. His father trained her. And you know, she kind of took her own path, and as Filoni has said, essentially became one of the greatest Force users of all time. I mean, just fucking the way he described her by the time we see her in Ahsoka is like, she is a like wizard level master, like untouchable skills at this point in time. Just a badass, kind of her own right, because she never finished the trial. She never was anointed as a knight. She left of her own free will after they fucked her over in the Clone Wars. So yeah, I'm with you there. I think, you know, maybe that could be Ahsoka content, and then eventually, if sadly Mando does end at some point in time, the big crossover event, I could see them coming back into play. At least Grogu coming in for a, hey, look what I've learned, daddy type of moment.
Yeah. that could be pretty fun.
Because I don't know. I mean, the fact that 50 years old, he is an invalid still.
A baby.
They're not going to have enough time to like make him a functional Yoda-like person. So who knows?
Yeah, you could even argue that like he's still pretty much useless by the end of the sequel trilogy. Because like, if you figure he's 50, right, and he has the mind of a 2-year-old,
he wouldn't even be 100 yet by the time that stuff rolls around. So yeah, either way, good looking shot.
He may be able to talk by the time the sequel trilogy ends. So we'll see. Good. Yeah, Collectionista de Plastico on the IG. Beautiful job. Next up, Black Series Bonanza has, I mean, really for me, this was just an excellent scene build.
Yep.
Like to have, you know, Kenobi obviously as your primary focus, but he's hooded and stuff like that. So you're not like, you know, in Kenobi's face or anything, but like the attention to detail in the background, the dio that he has built around it. I mean, this is just awesome scene building by Black Series Bonanza. And it kind of stands out when you look at a feed that has like a lot of shots of like singular characters or something like this, an execution of a full-on like multi-character scene.
I mean, that's the caption I put on it is excellent scene staging. You know, I know like some feature pages they'll put a bunch of bullshit and then credit the artist. Not here. We essentially comment on your shot and why we love it, and then instantly you are given credit. But it's just, you know, this could be a moment from the Kenobi series. I don't know if he'd be flashing his saber in a crowded city street like this, but yeah, you got to imagine Obi-Wan is keeping a low profile, living that hermit life. And, you know, if he were wearing robes like this, he probably would catch the eye of some Mos Eisley citizens or the other scum and villainy that inhabited the areas that he chose to live around. But just thinking about the effort to set up the dio, bring in the sand, and then place every one of these little cock-sucking pieces of plastic, it almost gives me heartburn just thinking about the setup process here, because it's such a tightly packed scene shot. I mean, like Nick said, it looks like a crowded city street. If one of those shitheads fell, it's dominoes time.
Yeah,
dominoes.
Everybody falls.
Figure dominoes, and for someone like me, when figure dominoes happen, things get ugly. That's how figures end up getting smashed against walls, holes get punched in tables, tables get stabbed with Bowie knives, all that fun stuff. So kudos to you at Black Series Bonanza for not being a freak like myself.
There you go. Awesome job at Black Series Bonanza on the IG. And last and not least, for the top 5 this week, we have at collectors.orbit. And this is, we all love badass Vader shots, and that's what this is. This is a badass Vader shot. It's a well-posed Vader in motion, saber in hand, getting ready to ignite, 2 Death Troopers flanking him. I mean, this looks like a badass Vader moment from Rogue One, getting ready to fucking slice some people up. And sometimes it doesn't require somebody's head flying off or something like that. Just like a good pose, good work in the background, and that really gets it across.
That's Darth Vader for you, man. He may not like it, but he is a photogenic motherfucker. Always has been.
It's true.
He's got that look down. That's why I've been drawn to him since I was 1 year old. And why he is my hero and my number 1 Star Wars character. He just looks like a boss. He doesn't need to have anything special. He doesn't even need to have his fucking lightsaber lit. He just looks like a dude that you don't want to fuck with. And that's why I love him. And that's why this shot is excellent. Just because it kind of just uses what makes Vader so great and imposing in a simple fashion, yet it still evokes a feeling of, I don't want to be in this guy's path. Let me get the fuck out of the way. This guy looks like a mean dude.
Yep. Good stuff. At collectors.orbit on the IG. Give them a follow. And that's it for the top 5. And that's it for the show. So, Matt, take us home. Give us a little shimmy and a shake and close this one out.
You got it. Here is that shimmy. Here is that shake. Here's the 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So what Nick is saying, anytime we end the show, we do a little bit of a pitch for StarWarsTime.net. And why you are asking? Well, that is our home. That's where we live on the internet outside of Instagram, which is our main social media platform. But on StarWarsTime.net, you can read our content throughout the week, kind of study, prepare for every show, because anything that shows up on StarWarsTime.net ends up being discussed every Tuesday live on the Star Wars Time Show. So if you like what you hear, if you like what you see, StarWarsTime.net, you can get subscribed to the podcast. Any of the audio-only platforms, we're there for you. And if we're not, that platform's probably stupid, okay? We're on the big ones. That's all that matters. So just head over to StarWarsTime.net, click on subscribe to podcast, or just scroll through and look at the lovely content, and you can find more links to sub to the podcast. We're talking Apple, Google, Spotify, Android, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, TuneIn, Deezer, RSS. We'll even email the motherfucking show to you. All right? Just head to StarWarsTime.net to get signed up. And if you're not signed up already on one of our podcast platforms, we'd love for you, especially Apple Podcasts. Even if you don't use Apple Podcasts, go on it now. Fire it up, like the show, and then rate the show. If you want to, you can even leave a review. Okay? More ratings, more power. We're not quite at unlimited power. So we need more of those ratings and reviews, my friends. If you prefer the show in video form to see our stupid fat faces and the crappy content in our, very 1990s looking presentation on the live stream, make sure to either go to youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show, search Star Wars Time Show on YouTube or the internet, or how about just going to StarWarsTime.net, scrolling down a little bit, finding our lovely little toon faces there, and clicking on the subscribe button. If you do it that way, it's one click shopping. You'll be auto-subscribed. Then you just got to hit that notification button on YouTube to ensure you get the alerts whenever we put out a video or go live for our Tuesday broadcasts. And why should you do this, everyone? Say it with me. There's always time for Star Wars Time, especially on the Star Wars Time Show. So please, help us out. We're wrapping 2021. My tail's a little bit between my legs for multiple reasons. Had a rough sports weekend, feeling old, midlife crises left and right. But ultimately, it's a little sad for the year in SWTS. Who knows what it was? Maybe it's the wokeness. Maybe it's my yelling. You just never know. But we'd like to get that audience kind of engaged again, built back up, and excited, like our current live stream audience every week. But let's do it by a factor of 1,000, right? There's always time for Star Wars time, my friends. So get out there, keep promoting, convince people, trick people, dare I even say drug people. Don't do that. I'm just being silly. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. You got to do what you got to do, right? And besides, if you listen to the Star Wars Time Show, the Force will be with you always.